Oh shit, music. There we go. That should be good. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Ackland here, and thanks for watching. Remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and write some crap in the comment section down below, and also then hit the link in the description down below, because it's always better when you're there for the live discussion, because you can actually influence the discussion almost always. So, come hang out. Alex, how you doing, bro? Are you writing some crap right now? That's good. that is good. How you doing, Alex? Oh, fuck my life, dude. Pain. I am in pain. My legs are fucking in pain. It's been a rough day. Why are you stressed? What's going on? I mean, it's Friday. You shouldn't be stressed. You should be in a good place. The fucking podcast on render is literally taking 3 hours out of my schedule. All right, yeah. The podcast seems to be a bitch. I should probably hold up. Let me just let patrons know that the podcast is coming. It's just coming slowly. Coming soon, TM. Yeah. Oh my god, come on. The Lovecraft podcast is still coming and should be available later today. We have myself and Apocalypse ended up going way... Kale, how you doing, brother? Way over time. And as a result, this week's podcast is taking longer to edit, render. Oh my god, come on. Okay, there we go. All right, I've let them know. Kale, how you doing, brother? I've let them know. The patrons should be aware now that the podcast is coming. It's just taking. So all I basically told them, Alex, is, hey, ladies and gentlemen, the Lovecraft podcast is still coming and should be available later today. Myself and Apocalypse ended up going way over time, and as a result, this week's podcast is taking longer than expected to edit and render. I really think you are going to enjoy this week's show. Apologies for the delay. Love you all, Aklon. So, yeah, that should cover it for now. Until the show is out, I think. Anyways, what's everyone up to? It is Friday, so I'm assuming everyone's so fucking busy there's a delay in people joining the stream. As usual. As per usual. Send on the picture and send you with the rendering hours as well. Oh, I forgot. Wait, I could probably edit. it. Hold up. Can you send pictures with text? I don't know. Patreon is so weird. Like, once you've made a text thing, you can't, I think, send pictures. But I can try. Let's see. I can do an attachment, which fucking blows. But hey, let's do that. Hold up. Hold the fucking phone, bro. Hold the phone. Attachment's not gonna work the same. 6 a.m. here on the East Coast. Ooh, spicy. Soon you guys will be out of your winter fucking bullshit time, and then things would get better. Hold this dick. How you doing, Apocalypse? Where? What dick? Whose dick? What dick am I holding? By the way, after fucking days, myself and Alex managed to get Lost Ark to work with one big issue, and that is, we didn't even try because we didn't want to fuck around with it anymore. But we basically, like, we're not doing the Founders Edition patches because don't know if that was what was stopping it, but I've been able to download the game now. Now I'm just waiting for the official launch. So I can play the game as well. Because for some reason, the VPN just would not work. Deathman, how you doing? I mean, I eventually got the VPN to make the account. But then as soon as I clicked, create the account, it would pop up a box that says, I am younger than 16 years of age. I am older than 16 years of age. And as soon as I click that, it literally just reloads the CAPTCHA. Just reloads the fucking CAPTCHA. Skipped work there. Called in sick. Shit. Nice. Nice. No, I don't. I mean, I could call in sick from work, but then I'm just gonna be playing games anyway. So, well, you know. I mean, I'll only call in sick when I have stuff that I want to do, but then I don't really call in sick. I just tweet that, hey, not going live today, see you guys tomorrow. And then that's it. Calling sick when you market your sickness? True. Sadly, true. I mean... You can't really call in sick when your entire life is online, right? Because people will just see, wait a second, he's saying he's sick, but he's playing games. Why couldn't he just stream and play games? What is he doing? I remember when I used to work, like when I had a proper 9-to-5 job or 8-to-5 job at that time. Actually, it was an 8-to-8 job, so it was like a 12-hour day. I would often call in sick, like specifically when I wanted to fucking play like something. When it was a game that I wanted to play, I would very often go, "I'm sick today, I can't do it." You know, playing Genshin and doesn't want the community to judge you. I don't even own Genshin, so I would definitely not be playing Genshin. But I mean, it is an MMO. It's a valid request from the community. If they want me to play Genshin and tell them what I think of it, I'll play it. I don't think I'd have good words about Genshin. I think I would dislike that one. I was wrong about Final Fantasy, but I don't think I'm wrong about Genshin Impact. The style of that game just does not look like my kind of game. Man, feel you ups. I'm calling out sick when Warhammer 3 comes out. Yeah, we're playing Warhammer 3 as well. And then as soon as Warhammer 3 really gets on a roll, not Elder Scrolls, what's it called again? Elden Ring launches. So then we'll be playing that from the 25th. I'm not yet sure if I'm going to take a day during the week of Warhammer, leading up to the week of Elden Ring, to maybe try out 9.2. I might try out 9.2 just to make a video on whether or not I think it's worth coming back to World of Warcraft to 9.2. I don't know yet. I have not decided how I feel about playing WoW again. So we'll probably have to wait and see. Yesterday I had temperature and didn't go to work, so I was thinking, why go on Friday? Oh, may as well have a longer weekend. There you go. That's the way to think about it, Death Knight. That is the way to think about it. But yeah, February is a good time. It's a good time for gaming. I don't know if Blizzard made a huge mistake, though, launching 9.2 in February. It feels like that may have been a massive mistake. CDJ, how you doing, brother? Part of grindy old crap to me, to be honest. Blizzard is paying attention, and they are listening. Shini, how you doing? They think, why do I... Are you talking about your company, or are you talking about Blizzard? Alex, the only reason I would go back for 9.2 is because content. It's something to make a video. Hey, I could literally get at least 15 videos of complaining out of 9.2 if it's really bad. Like, that is 15 videos worth of content that I could probably squeeze out of 9.2. And that would be me playing 9.2 for about 4 hours. So in 4 hours of 9.2, if it's really bad, I could get at least 15 videos. I think content-wise, playing 9.2 is a good idea. Overall, companies don't care much about the workers in 8 to 5 work. They think you'd be surprised. You would be very surprised how much companies actually do care. It sounds weird, but they do actually. I can tell you how I know this, if you really want me to. Mipster, how you doing, brother? How you doing? I am tired, and my legs hurt. But outside of that, I'm good. Just think how triggered the WoW cultists will be if 9.2 gets slammed. 9.2 is gonna get slammed. Because Blizzard still haven't learned, like, some of the most basic fucking lessons for 9.2. So one yet, but I like to hear you say what company care. Alright, so Death Knight, my brother is currently working with a company that focuses specifically on strategic worker relationships for companies, right? So that's literally all this company does, is massive corporations get this company in to effectively strategize on how to motivate workers to work better. Almost all very large corporations have literal profiles on every single person that works at the company. These people are oftentimes evaluated through questionnaires, discussions, job reviews, things like that. And then all of that is compiled into this profile. This profile tells them, how do I... Two-board, how you doing, brother? This profile tells them, right, worker A is motivated by growth, right? So they want personal growth, or maybe they want extrinsic growth. They want some kind of growth. Worker B is motivated by, let's say, ethics and an ethical workplace, something to that effect, right? So they know what every single worker wants. And you may think to yourself, well, that's just because they want you to work harder. True, because they want profits and you want a salary. But the fact that they spend that much time should tell you they really do care, right? They really do want to make the best of your time at the job, because a happy worker is almost always going to be a harder worker. So it is it's beneficial to both of you that your happiness is a top priority for the company that you work for. Now, I'm not saying all companies. There are obviously a lot of companies out there that couldn't give two fucks about your own happiness, right? They would squeeze as much out of you as they can. But that's not... don't have that, or the guy needs to be fired. not all companies would have that. It's fairly new, but a lot of large companies are starting to get that. Because the science is clear on this. If a worker is happy, a worker will work harder. Too bored? If all goes well, yes, Lost Ark today. We couldn't get the Founders Edition to work. At least myself and Alex, we're not even trying right now with the Founders Edition. We bought the Founders Edition, it would not fucking work. So now we're just basically going, look, we've got it to work. It's downloaded, it's installed on my PC. It seems to be working. Let's not fuck about with it. Because there's a good chance I start fucking around, and then suddenly it goes, oh, by the way, we see that you're not actually able to play this game. So we're not fucking about. I'm just leaving it. It will launch at 6 o'clock tonight for me. That's when we'll play it. And that makes sense. We usually do fucking just chatting for about 4 or 5 hours anyways. So even if I could play the game right now, I would most likely only start playing it at about 6 tonight. Did you get the Twitch drop reward? No. For Lost Ark? No. Obviously not. According to Amazon, I live in South Africa, so I'm obviously not going to get any drop rewards from Twitch. Tempest, how you doing? 40k sucks. Pre-Age of Sigmar fantasy is where my jam is. Yeah, you're wrong about that. Of all the lore that I've seen, the lore of 40k seems to be incredible. Wish you luck on it working. Oh, Tempest, you and me both. I've been struggling for 2 days to get this goddamn game to work. It needs to fucking work. Cranky Panzer, how you doing? I thought it was releasing for all in 45 minutes. The article that I read earlier today said that it's 5 p.m. GMT. I mean, if it's 45 minutes, that's great, right? But I saw an article that was written 18 hours ago. And 18 hours ago, it was updated that the game launches worldwide at 5 p.m. GMT, which is 6 p.m. my time. Could be that they changed it. I genuinely don't know. Why can you only play Lost Ark on Sunday? They find. Why only Sunday? I don't know what classes there are. You're asking the wrong person that fucking question. I don't know what classes there are. I genuinely know nothing about this game. I am going into the game completely and utterly blind. Thank you, Apocalypse. So I genuinely can't tell you. Oh yeah, 7 p.m. You're right. It's 2 hours. GMT is Britain. 7 p.m. is still fine. Need practice for Warcraft 3 Reforged tournament that will be on Saturday evening. After that, I can play Lost Ark. Wait, you play tournaments for Warcraft 3 Reforged? Blasphemous Crow, how you doing, brother? I didn't think people actually fucking played that. There's only a handsome monk and sexy babe. Eliusha, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Very happy to have you. Happy Friday to everyone. Happy Friday. If you're wondering why I'm just sitting here chilling, reading chat, it's because I'm in pain. So you guys need to entertain me today. My legs are falling off. The gym was rough today, dude. Like fucking well rough. Google Walker 3, it's community made ladder. I mean, I don't have to Google it, Death Knight. It makes sense immediately. As soon as you said it's community made, I was like, oh, okay. The community made the game to such an extent that people are actually playing it. Because Blizzard is not doing shit with fucking Warcraft 3 Reforged, let's be real. You found a grenade on your work site. Where do you work, Blasphemous Crow, that there would be grenades hanging about? Like, what the fuck? Alright, I'll check. I mean, I'm getting Facebook stuff. I'm not getting, like, Googling Warcraft 3 Reforged community events. I'm not really getting anything. There's, like, a Warcraft 3 Reforged community pizza night that's up here. Yep, I work at a hotel. We kicked a bunch of crackheads out and found a grenade they left behind. Jesus. Imagine that. Like, the last person you want with a fucking grenade is a crackhead. Like, Jesus. High on crack with a grenade. Talk about an unstable fucking component. Jesus. Yeah, that would be weird. Warcraft 3 champions. Here we go. I can see it here. Join the battlefield now. No, thank you. They have put in a lot of work, though. Look at this. Their own website, matches, tournaments. Actual fucking tournaments that they've got running. Grand finals, Focus and Happy. Losers finals, Happy and Lolite. Happy won. Wait, what? Why is Happy in the losers final? And Happy is also in the winners bracket. I think the game is broken. It was live. The bomb squad didn't tell us, but they took it away. Whether live or not, although a lot of crackheads, a lot of crackhead people like fucking ex-military and like veterans and shit. Like, a lot of people suffering from drugs and stuff for military veterans that's completely forgotten by the country and left to their own devices. So it kind of makes sense. Maybe the guy brought back a hand grenade, you know, as a keepsake or some shit. So I'm not a fan of military, right? I don't like that militaries exist. But I find it disgusting how countries treat their military vets. I genuinely do. These people gave their life to fight wars that you fucking dreamt up. And now you're not even going to take care of them? You're just going to leave them? That to me is fucking disgusting. And from losers bracket, winner got a chance to win again for first place? Ah, okay. I follow. Yeah. Apocalypse. I mean, it is your foot soldiers, right? Because most of the time, your generals or your sergeants, so people that actually ranked a little bit, they get really nice retirement bonuses, and you know they get taken care of. You know, to such an extent that they don't necessarily have to do much, if anything. But your foot soldiers, they usually get forgotten. The next military higher rank, well, Colonel Russell Williams is a JCS that you should watch. Colonel Russell Williams is a JCS. Link it, Apocalypse. Put it in content suggestions. I've been meaning to watch some more JCS. I love that shit. Matt Saint, how you doing, brother? That's one of the things that makes me Dark Knight, that makes me so incredibly proud of the internet. You have communities that come together and do things that they don't have to do, right? Like, people could have just forgotten about Warcraft 3 Reforged and basically given up. Instead, you have people that come together and find a way to make the game good, regardless. JCS took my ninth for 2 weeks. It's in suggestions. Nice. We'll watch some JCS in a bit. I've been meaning to watch a bit of criminal shit. You know, criminal mastermind crap. I've been enjoying that. It's not doing it as well on YouTube though. It doesn't seem like the YouTube audience cares much for the whole criminal investigation shit. But I'm enjoying it. Yeah, if you look at the... It might also just be the thumbnail. I don't know. Not when it comes to reactions on it anyway. It's a bit heavy hitting for most. True. It obviously is, right? For a lot of people, it would be, like, very hard-hitting. I mean, I do see, like, obviously, your big fucking React channels, your big Twitch streamers, they get their good 400, 500,000 views off of those videos. I'm not that, so can't really hope for that. But I don't know why. I feel like the thumbnail may also be a problem. I don't know if the thumbnails for the reaction videos... It feels too busy. Like, look at this. It feels way too busy. I don't know if the Reacalon stuff should be up there. Reactions, but not the original. There are some, Georgie, there's some episodes of JCS that YouTube forced down. But the reaction videos are still up. Because I know JCS has had trouble with being demonetized a few times. Let's see what other people did with this. Let's quickly see. Yeah, I see the other React channels do it very sort of... You have the background, and then you have the streamer at the front, and maybe a little writing on it. But they don't do sort of a... They basically use his... I think they use his thumbnail, and then they just put themselves in front of his thumbnail. Which is very, very, very fucking lazy, right? Yeah, they just use his thumbnail, and then they just put their face on it. Which is probably what you should do with reactions, because you are basically... I don't know. I just wonder... I think the yellow writing might be making it too busy. You know? Like, maybe reaction content is supposed to be cleaner, I think. Blasphemous Grow, yes, I heard. Yeah. With reaction videos, you do want to kind of get the person to think. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Because based on just the initial view, it seems like most reaction videos is literally just the people... Hey, I'm there as well. What do you know? Hello? Way down, but I'm there. I'm on the first page, fuckers. Yeah, that's the Chris Watts one. Weasel, how you doing, bro? Maybe you do want to do it as simplistic as humanly possible. Maybe that is how reaction content works. I want to see something here because Asmongold's is definitely different. But then again, there is a point where it no longer really matters. No. If you look at Asmongold's content, it's also just him in the thumbnail, and most of the time just maybe some writing, and a lot of times no fucking writing whatsoever. Don't take ass selfies and have your OnlyFans leaked. Wait, new what? There's a Pokemon leak? It's not that Asmongold knows how to clickbait. Death Knight. I'm the new Pokemon. Oh, right. It's not that Asmongold knows how to clickbait. Asmongold's face is all the clickbait you need. But here's the thing. Look at Asmongold's views here. Yeah? 209k, 210k. We could go to his channel so you guys can see like the top like the top views, yeah? You have 135k, 124k, 206k, 470k, 255k, 293k, 92k, 316k, 231k, 224, 248, 350, 629, 386, 300, 400, 496, 600. Like, Asmongold's face just get a fuck ton of clicks. People know him, right? No, I haven't seen what Asmongold got from the media tour box, but I would imagine great stuff. I would imagine. Look, Asmongold is basically a money printing machine for Twitch. Now that he's back, he's making like crazy fucking money. All right, so we have this one from Alex. Excuse me, or this one from Alex. Which one did you guys like more? This one. All right. I think with reaction content, simpler is better. Most likely. I missed the FF14 unboxing. I was on his stream for a long time waiting and I had to leave. Ascension, how you doing, bro? Ellie, why are you saying, Are you wondering which one is better? Or do you agree that this one is better? So the problem that I have with this specific one, whether it's a lot of writing or little writing, you already have writing in red at the top there, Reacalon, yeah? Once you put more writing on it, it almost feels... There's so much that I have to focus on with the thumbnail that I opt out of focusing on anything. So I basically decide not to focus on anything because there's too much to focus on. Where I think this one, specifically, you see the picture. This is Chris Watts, obviously. And then you see the reaction and you're like, oh, you see the post and you go, oh my God, this is a reaction video. Great. Yeah. So I think it just makes it easier. Drawing the picture at all. I wouldn't have put my name next to the guy's head. What do you mean, Jasper? Oh, Ziga, how you doing? Disco option, how you doing, brother? You shouldn't show his face that big. Well, the problem is that his face is the recognizable part of the video, right? If you don't have his face there, people won't know what this is about. because people have seen his face and they immediately know evil cunt, you know? And the Reacolon bit we can't really remove, because the Reacolon bit is every single reaction video I do has that Reacolon with the border and the logo in the corner. So you remove that, it's almost like you could probably remove the Reacolon and then just have the logo there, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, disc option, his face from the beginning sort of just looked, his eyes look untrustworthy. I don't know if that makes sense. Well, see, I don't expect me to change the thumbnail and then get mad views. That's not how it works. Especially with reaction content, you have to build it up. It takes a long time to build up reaction content. Instantly 1 mil views. I would not mind. 1 mil views is like $100,000. So 1 mil views is good money. Colons. I mean, he's a fucking asshole is what he is. Very bad man. What do people say in the comment section? I don't think I've read all the comments. Another amazing video from this guy is Guilty Until Proven Innocent. I highly recommend it and would love to see your opinion on it. Alright. This is good. We could watch that. That should be your response 100% of the time. Maybe listening to over true crime podcast for 6 years has made me jaded as fuck, but the job of the interrogator is to get a confession, not prove your innocence. If this is police and a person, that person has to take everything off themselves but clothes. There is more to know if there is more around, like a house. A person in a house stays in the house with the rules applied to the person. So people are just giving opinions and stuff. Not cover your name with his face? You could, but then again, you run into another problem, Jasper. Okay, so say for example we put his face behind the name, yeah. That makes the picture immediately 100% background. Apocalypse, thank you. So, Jasperin, the thing that you have to remember here is when it comes to thumbnails, you're effectively always fighting for max clickbait. Yeah? And sometimes you do things that, yes, is somewhat scumbaggy. Like in this case, I know exactly what you want. You don't want the focus to be on him because he's an evil scumbag, right? And we don't really want to give evil scumbags publicity. But if you're a YouTuber, if you're a content creator, you immediately think publicity means I get clicks, which means good, right? That's the sad part of it. You are basically in an industry where you celebrate evil to some extent. I wonder about that because I've seen some psychologists suggest that the hyper focus around Salty Fries, how you doing? You know, whenever there's like a shooting or like a murder or something, it's on every single news channel the world over for like at least a day or two. Now, I've seen psychologists who actually argue that coverage is what drives more people to do it because they also want to be in the limelight. So anyone that is somewhat unstable is going to go, fuck, I could be famous too, and then they're going to do it as well. Just because, why not? Let's go fucking ham. So there is sort of two sides to the coin, I suppose. That makes it a very difficult decision on should you or should you not. I agree with you, Apocalypse. I think in some cases it's very necessary to shine the light on scummy behavior. In other cases, maybe less so. I know, for example, like the biggest place where psychologists say it should be less entertainment and less publicized is when it comes to mass shootings. Because the average mass shooter, so someone that has that sort of will to go out and kill 50 people with a gun, generally do it because they want to cause chaos, but also they want to be recognized. Because most of these people are loners, oftentimes people that have been bullied for a long time, mostly people who are basically invisible to the world around them. And now suddenly they become visible because they're everywhere. And then maybe you have another person in another state that is also in the same place, and they go, wait a second, so this is how I get validation? This is how I get noticed? And they go, fuck it. Let's take this gun and go shoot people. So probably, it's probably very much case by case, you know? So you have to think, I would say serial killers probably the same thing. Because serial killers oftentimes want to be recognized for their work. They want to be caught so that they can be famous. It's actually one of the funny reasons why the most famous serial killer of all time is, well, it sort of hovers between Charles Manson and, what's it called? What's his name? Not Son of Sam. Son of Sam is also pretty big. But this guy was like a fucking maniac. Was it the Zodiac Killer? Ted Bundy. Yeah, that's the one. Sorry. Ted Bundy was like, he is the most famous serial killer. But if you want to talk about the most successful serial killer, so if in this case we would talk about someone that got away, that's Jack the Ripper. Because Jack the Ripper was never caught. The case went cold. They had no idea who it was, and they never caught the guy who did it. That's still one of my favorites. So I read... Probably I was younger. I was just in high school, so probably around, let's say, 14, 15 years old. I read 5 or 6 books on Jack the Ripper. I there was a point where I was fucking fascinated with Jack the Ripper. Apocalypse, they caught a doctor who they were very suspicious of. Like, the evidence pointed towards him. But it was in one of the books where they followed the entire case. So 2 of the books that I read simply followed his sort of MO, you know, how he killed the people, who he killed, how he chose the spots that he killed them in, things like that. Then one of the books that I read followed the case specifically. So not the psychological aspect of it, literally just the police case. I think it was called True Evil or something like that. A Jack the Ripper story or some, I can't remember. But so their base suspect was, I think, a doctor or a businessman or something to that effect. Yes, very rich. Yes, very good standing. The problem is, they could never find hard evidence. There was like a detective in Scotland Yard that worked for, I think, almost 10 years trying to pin the murder on this guy. And after 10 years, he could not find the evidence to place him at the scene. Now, another thing that probably should be kept in mind here is technology. Let's imagine Jack the Ripper did everything that he did in this day and age. Do you think he would have been able to get away with it? Probably not, right? Our technology is a hell of a lot better than what it was back in the day. So when they were trying to catch Jack the Ripper, they did not have the ability to do fingerprint scanning. They would have had to be very lucky with how they solved that crime. Whereas today, you'd probably, like, I don't know if many Are there many serial killers that get away these days? I don't think so. Tempest, there's like a bunch of theories around who Jack the Ripper was. There's like a bunch of theories. Because they had, I think, 4 or 5 prime suspects for the murder. Like, one thing they know for a fact is that whoever it was an upstanding gentleman of society. So it was someone with money. This they kind of know based on how the bodies were found and where the bodies were found. So almost all of the killings was in the lower areas of London, which to them would suggest that someone wouldn't kill. Like, most serial killers don't really kill close to home, because that would be stupid. So they sort of find something that's a little bit further off, but not so far off that it becomes like easier to get caught with blood on you, for example. I think they found they found a piece of cloth as well at one of the scenes that they think came from his shirt or his cloak, which was or his coat, which was genuinely like good material. This wouldn't have been owned by some laborer. This would have been something that belonged to someone that had some kind of fucking money, right? Heard of the podcast, YouTube show, Casual Criminalist? It might interest you, judging by this conversation anyways. Fairy Star, I've not heard about it, but I do love criminal shit. There was Alpocalypse, I remember. This was in a like a YouTube documentary. Well, no, actually, it's a documentary that was on TV, but it was uploaded to YouTube as well. But this was like older. Looks like, based on the camera work and stuff, probably 90s, early 90s, mid 90s somewhere, where they actually thought that Jack the Ripper had contacts or influence in the local police department, especially with the higher ups, because the detective that was working on it constantly got sort of sidetracked. Just things like things wouldn't go through. Certain pieces of evidence would take fucking forever to be analyzed. Certain things would just be thrown out by the higher ups. Like, they'd go, no, this isn't evidence, and throw it away. So they're almost certain that he must have had some influence in the upper echelons of the police department. I even heard a theory. This is conspiracy, by the way. But I heard a theory that he was contracted by Scotland Yard's higher ups to kill prostitutes, because they were trying to get rid of the prostitutes on the street, because that also seemingly was the only woman that he killed, were working women. Giant Rat Cat, how you doing, bro? You're going to sleep. It's very, very late, early at the moment. Right now, you're west of the most loved but not forgotten ancient Atlantis, where my great ancestors have traveled in a time where they had people blowing air but not fans when it's warm. Oh boy, good old days. Anyways, big love, my man. Have a good stream and a happy day. Giant Rat Guy, take care of yourself. And I haven't seen you in a while, bro. So be good. So where some think he escaped to the USA. It was a simpler time, right? It was a simpler time back then. I think you could get away with a lot more tough times. Gotta stand up. Hey, bro. You do you, man. But yeah, Jack the Ripper, very interesting. Even Saint later, I believe this is actually what made them believe that he was educated. And in those days, if you were educated, you came from money. Because I believe he sent 2 letters to the police department. Basically, like, taunting them. You know, he was effectively telling them who he killed and how he did it. In one of the letters, he told them about a suspect that, or about a victim that they didn't even know about until he sent the letter. And the letters were written in an educated hand. Like, definitely the person who wrote it would not have been someone from the downtrodden downtown of London. It would have been from someone well-educated. I think I did watch Ripper Street. This was an older series, right? The other one that did this, there was a movie about him as well. I think the movie was based on the real Zodiac Killer, because he also did the later stuff, like the riddles and shit that he was taunting people with. Or taunting the police with, really. That must be like... you must be either very interested in getting caught or very certain that you can't get caught if you send letters to the police going, haha. Well, actually to the media, but, you know, you're sending letters. About Ripper? Yeah. Johnny Depp made a movie, was in a movie about the Ripper. There's been TV shows about the Ripper. There's a game about the Ripper. The game is very good. If you've never played the Ripper, you should play the Ripper. It is a very good fucking game. It's a 100% detective game done in like movie-esque kind of graphics. But it's the Ripper set kind of in the past, but also in the future, is sort of like a cyberpunk type of Ripper game, where, you know, they have computers, but it's more old school computers, but then they also have crazy technologies that they work with. So it's a really cool fucking game. Really cool game, and very eerie. It's a way to show you're the one in control of the situation. True. Sending letters probably helps in the adrenaline rush. High tech, low life. No, it's more. It's very difficult to really describe disco option. You have to, like, do yourself a favor and type into YouTube, Jack the Ripper video game, or the Ripper video game. You'll see what I mean. It's sort of a merge between futuristic and very old school. They kind of merged the 1800s and the future a little bit in the game. But you also get letters from the Ripper. The Ripper also contacts you in the metaverse, in the virtual reality world. Contacts you, and basically the Ripper takes an interest in you as a reporter and starts sending you letters and stuff. So at some point the police start suspecting that you might be the Ripper. But I'd say to this day, it's one of the hardest detective games I've ever played in my life. It's not an easy game. Even nowadays, I played it a few years ago, and even now, some of the puzzles and clues that you have to uncover, it's not obvious that you have to uncover it. There's things that you just go, wait a second, how am I supposed to know that this was a clue? So one of the clues is a pinball machine. You're playing on a pinball machine, and they don't tell you this, but the pinball machine has a hidden compartment that you have to open, and the only way to open the hidden compartment is by playing the game in a very specific way. So, and they don't tell you. You have no idea that this is something that's happening. Ted Bundy was interesting. Son of Sam was very interesting. Cloaky Cloaked, how you doing, bro? I would say Son of Sam is also like a proper weird story of a serial killer. That being said, though, serial killing is weird to me. It's a very weird... It's a weird way to spend your life, you know? I'm just gonna spend my life killing people for no reason whatsoever. The sad crying clown. You need to get to play Lost Ark. Saber Raven, yes. As soon as it launches worldwide, we're gonna give it a try. I don't want to fuck around with buying the Founders Edition. In case the game realizes, hey, wait a second, did you just use a payment option from South Africa? I heard of BTK. He was a serial killer. I heard of him. Who, when caught, was proudly and methodically describing one of the murders in court. So I believe there's two schools of thought psychologically about serial killers. The one school of thought suggests that serial killers want to be caught because they want the recognition for what they're doing. But recent criminology have found that that's not true for all serial killers. Serial killers who are very narcissistic, so in other words, their narcissism is off the charts, they want to be caught. Other serial killers do not. They stay completely quiet. They do their own thing. They don't do anything out of the ordinary. So it's kind of like they actually suggest, because so here's the thing. Almost all serial killers, now this is just based on what I've heard in psychological interviews and stuff. All serial killers follow the same sort of MO. Their killings usually, like their first murder, will be very messy. Yeah? This is the time where they're basically fleshing out their technique. So they're basically figuring out, what's the best way that they want to kill people. And then they'll go through a couple of murders where it sort of evolves, and it either gets more gruesome or more clean, depending on the serial killer. This is also usually where you'll start seeing sexual things being implemented if it is a sexual nature killing. So maybe the person suffers from impotency, either in physical form, they can't have sex, or they feel emasculated for some reason or whatever. So this is often, you could look at things like stabbing particular parts of the body, cutting off particular parts of the body, mutilating particular part of the body, or just like over the top gruesomeness to the murders. Could also be indicative of a sexual component to the murder. But then they all start devolving. They call it the de-evolution period, where they almost unravel. Like, their last murders usually become very messy, very sort of... they start doing things that's unnecessary, right? So it's actually becoming easier to catch them, because they'll leave things at the scene that they shouldn't leave at the scene. They'll stab the person and leave the murder weapon at the scene. So they'll do weird things that's not at all in keeping with what the original MO was. This is what they call the unraveling period. Now, in the beginning, psychologists and criminologists argued that this is because they want to get caught. So they finally killed enough people that they think they're going to be famous, so now they want to be caught. But now psychologists are starting to think it's actually more to do with just like a more general unraveling. Their anger gets more and more because the reason they're killing people isn't being fulfilled by the murders. It's basically like, why does a heroin addict keep taking more and more heroin every single time they want to get high? Because only the first high is really an amazing high. After that, it gets shorter every single time, so you have to up the dose every single time. You have to start doing more and more things in order to, get that same high. And this is basically what happens with serial killers. They need the high, but after the 5th or 6th murder, that high is not really coming from their normal MO. I believe there was a serial killer which took the police almost 10 years to catch because they never changed. Never. Like, even to the last murder, it was literally the same MO. They only killed, I believe, 2 or 3 times a year. No more, no less. It was literally that. And they only killed a very specific person in a very specific way. So highly methodical. They did not deviate once. I believe they misstepped outside of a murder. They got caught. The police figured out that they were doing a specific job. And this job would only allow them that many days a year that they would have time to kill people. Or kill someone. And that's how the police narrowed it down and eventually found the person who were in all those locations at the time of the murders, every single time for 10 years. I believe they were a fisherman or some shit like that. And so they would only come to shore 3 times a year, long enough to actually do it, and always in the same locations that they found bodies shortly after. Isaac, how you doing, bro? But this was years ago that I read. I think I read an article about it, or I may have watched a YouTube video about it. Not sure. The Torso Killer was one like that, because they work for the railroad and kill transients. I've never heard of the Torso Killer. Huh. You guys want to watch some JCS? Do you have Investigation Discovery channel in your area or subscribe to it? I don't know. I don't have a TV, Praetorican. I don't own a television. I don't see the point. If I want to watch something, I'll watch it on Netflix. If it's not on Netflix, I can always download it. And if I can't download it, I probably don't want to watch it. So it's sort of like, you know. The channel Lamino. What's that about? D-Rocker, how you doing? But yeah, I mean, I don't even have, this is always why I say I should not get, I should probably never get married. If I had a wife or a girlfriend in my life, she would be very pissed off with me, dude. My entire existence is between 2 rooms in my house. Here, where I play video games and stream, and then my bedroom where I sleep. My bedroom has a bed, and that's it. It has 1 bed. There's nothing else in my bedroom. Oh, there's a fan as well. Like that one. So it's basically a fan like that and 1 bed. With a view from a non-verbalist analyzing it would be fun and in line of the serial killer topic. All right, we'll check it out. I love watching fucking true crime shit. I don't have a I don't have a what is it called? Like living room set? Is it called a living room set? TV room set? Like couches and shit? I don't have that. I don't have a TV. I don't... In my kitchen, I have 2 cast iron pans, a cast iron weight, and a fridge. And that's it. That's all I own in the kitchen. And then the barbecue area, obviously. And I have 1 plate, 1 knife, 1 fork. That's it. That's literally my life. That's my entire existence. Outside of this stuff that you see here, the PC and stuff, that is my entire existence. It's all I own. Disc option, yep, literally that. We'll bring our own plate. True. No, but obviously, like, this is not something that I'm not married to this idea, Jaspering. So I don't think that this is the optimal way to live your life. I'm just saying, if I met a woman and we started dating, she would see my lifestyle and she would be like, what the fuck? Because, you know, she would have to introduce all that shit. She would have to go, okay, we need couches, we need a TV, we need curtains. I don't even have curtains in my fucking house. I have here, but that's to keep the sun out. Nowhere else do I have curtains. It's just open windows and that's it. So I have fucking nothing. I have no life. Oh, and I've got the vacuum cleaner. That's another thing that I own. I own a vacuum cleaner. Miyukitiwan, how you doing? There's an option. When will we get the Acklon method? No one wants to live the way that I live, dude. I myself don't like living this way. I just don't have the energy to change it. Because if I'm gonna change it, it means I have to spend one of my Saturdays or Sundays going to a shop to go fucking look for couches. I have to spend time buying microwaves and kitchen utensils and kitchen equipment. And whenever I think of doing those things, I just think to myself, nah, I could do better. Like, I could go to the beach and chill out at the beach. I could go have coffee on the beach. I could go for a drive to beaches along the coast. Or I could play video games, you know, or I could go hiking, which is another thing that's really fun. So I don't really, like, when I think of doing those things, I usually just think, nah, I'll leave it, you know. I'll leave it. Do I want kids? I've never really, like, when I was younger, I didn't want kids at all. I genuinely did not want kids at all. Nowadays, I would say I'm neutral on the kids question. It wouldn't bother me, I guess, if I had kids, but I would not care if I didn't. It would more be like, yeah, all right, I made a girl that wants children, so we'll have children. Or she doesn't want kids, we won't have kids. It's like an either-or situation for me. Do you want intimacy with a romantic partner? I don't really think about it. Now, that could be for several reasons, yeah? I genuinely rarely, if ever, think about intimacy or marriage or even goals. I don't even look at goals that often, to be fair with you. Like, whenever we go out and sort of me and my brothers, they'll be the ones who go, oh my god, did you see that goal? And then I'd be like, what goal? Where? I don't really spend a lot of time looking at people. I'm usually doing my own thing, like I'm in my own head. So, I don't know, that's fucking hard, dude. That's a hard question. So I think part of it might just be the fact that I've sort of accepted the fact that I won't get married and therefore I no longer think about shit like that. Or it could just be that I really don't care. Because both of those would have very different outcomes, right? Then you play Final Fantasy XIV, not over anything but tits? Yeah, but there I'm forced to look at it. It's not that I don't find women beautiful. Let's just be clear. When I do see a beautiful girl, I obviously notice and I look. It's just very often I don't notice. And usually, when I'm in my head, I don't really like when people pull me out of that headspace. Part of me does want some of these things. Then again, I wonder if it's only the sex I want. Well, sex is really indicative of intimacy, right? So, Pretorican, I could turn the question around on you. Would you be okay if you could have sex every night with a different girl? Or would you prefer if you had sex every night with the same girl? What would be preferable to you? Still pining for that girl from the gym? Dude, there's a girl. She's not at my gym. She's been at my gym twice. She's a personal trainer at the other gym in town. She is fucking to cry about, dude. She is super hot. The pressure that is put on people to get married or kids. I don't know if it's outside pressure, though. A lot of it is inside pressure. Because I think the natural state for human beings, so our very, natural biological state is to have children and get married. Life is easier when you're married. Guaranteed, life is easier when you're married, because basically our entire world has been designed for two people, not for one. It is just sort of set up that way, right? That two people will go better at the world than one person would. And biologically speaking, as every species on the planet wants to do, is to survive. Right? If you have a species with no interest in survival, that species usually dies out. So the fact that we've existed for as long as we've existed tells you that there is a genetic need to survive. That survival comes from procreation. So it is almost guaranteed that every human being, or at least the majority of human beings, will pressure themselves into finding love so that they can procreate. In fact, I would argue that we probably have more... I would argue that love is an extension of our need to survive, our need to procreate, and that love itself isn't really genetic. It could be that love is a coat or a coating that we put on our genetic drive to procreate, to survive. Seven Raven, I would agree with you on that, though. I think marriage, in the way that it exists today, is definitely a schmas. But then at the same time, I can tell you that the vast majority of women that I meet want that fantasy day. They want that day where they're the princess. You know, the vast majority of men I know just want that night after the day, right? Where you can now legally and in the eyes of society rightfully make love to your woman, and no one can really judge you for it. Desperin, is it really pressure that you apply on yourself because of what other people would think? Because I don't know if that's obvious. There would definitely be some pressure. You are correct in some ways. There would be some pressure from other people because we are a social species, and therefore other people's opinions of us would weigh at least something. But it's not obvious that that is the only reason there's pressure on us. Salty Fries, why does it sound weird to you? Seven, that's good. You're walking on air. Isaac, is that really how it works? Any solution that worked for Lost Ark? 10 Deeps, yes. I have the game installed. I'm literally just waiting for it to go live. So, in my mind, at least if you go the religion route, so if you look at Judaism, right, where Christianity comes from, in Judaism, you weren't married thanks to the ceremony. They actually viewed you as married whenever you slept with the person. So as soon as you had sex with someone, you were married to that person. Which is why sex outside of wedlock is considered to be a sin, because you're ultimately marrying multiple people, right? So you're not just married to a single person, you're married to every single person that you sleep with. Because the argument there is that psychologically speaking, every single person that you sleep with, you make a psychological connection with. And you carry every single one of those people with you into future relationships. So that's sort of their, their argument for it. Cyrena, how you doing? We're happy to have you back, Cyrena. Very happy to have you back. consummation these days, salty fries, means the sex right after marriage. But in Old Hebrew, so the original version of the Torah, marriage is literally achieved by sex between two people. So when you and your wife go into the bedroom and you have sex, that is, you are now considered in the eyes of God to be married to one another. We, of course, have changed that now. So, for example, if you get married but you don't consummate the marriage, you can get an annulment. Once you have consummated the marriage, that annulment becomes much harder to actually do, because now you have to prove that you were not in the right state of mind when you got married to actually understand that you got married. Gibbon, not really, no. In the Old Testament, you could have multiple wives, and it really differs from book to book, but a lot of people didn't have multiple wives. Even in the Old Testament, there's a lot of characters within the Old Testament that only had one wife. And then, of course, there were also, so for example, I think it was David. David craved the wife of his best friend, and he then had his best friend killed in war so that she would be single, so that he could marry her. And this basically stopped him from being able to build the temple of God, because in the eyes of God, whilst he was still his son, still one of his children, he was no longer considered worthy of building the temple. And then, of course, the temple was built by his son, who had multiple wives, who had actually more wives than you can count. So it really depends on the book that you read and the character within that book of the Bible on how many wives you have. But marriage was still considered between, like, consummated as soon as you slept together. I don't know. I would say if I were to get married, I would want to have a wedding, like a proper fucking wedding. That's one of those traditions that I think is a good thing. It's not for me about the papers. It's about tradition. In my family, it's been tradition. Every single person that I know in my family had a massive wedding. My cousin's wedding had like over, I think, 400 people. Both of my cousins actually had over 400 people at their wedding. My parents had a massive wedding. All my uncles and aunts have had massive weddings. So it's kind of tradition that you should have like, and I like traditions. I don't think tradition should just be done away with. I think sometimes having traditions is good. So I would, if I were to get married, I would want to have like a large wedding. I think that would be fun. Only because it is fun. Who wouldn't want a really special day where there's good food, good company, everyone's having fun, dancing, a celebration of love, so to speak. But I don't view it, it's sort of like Christmas. I don't have any religious notions about Christmas, but I do like the family aspect of Christmas. You know, getting together with your family members, having dinner, exchanging gifts if that's what you do, or just exchanging good company and good conversation. For me, Christmas is more of a family day. So, in essence, I don't know. I'm kind of a stickler. It's actually one of the reasons why. I mean, I'm an anarchist, and I like the Queen. I like the monarchy of England. Mainly purely because of tradition. England has been a monarchy forever, and why would you break that tradition? Why would you not just keep that tradition? Yeah, I think these days marriage is more just for the fucking paperwork, because the government, there's a lot of issues when you just live with someone. Although in South Africa, that's mainly been taken care of, because in South Africa, if you've lived with a person for more than 6 months, legally, you are married. So the law in South Africa says that if you and another person cohabit for more than 6 months, you are legally married. So at that point, if you broke up, she could legally take half your shit. And you could legally take half of her shit. Disco option, yeah. I like the tradition of it. See it from this perspective, constantly changing a set of beliefs and behaviors that has psychological and social benefits will end up trivializing and create unintended consequences. That is not to say we should not always scrutinize some set of traditions, norms, etc. Praetorian, I agree with you. There's definitely traditions that should be challenged if they're illogical. But then there are traditions that's not illogical, that make sense, even if it is just to bring people together, you know? Even if it is just to bring people together, if you start challenging those fundamental sort of traditions, there's no real... So I'll give you guys an example, like a silly example. At the Super Bowl, they usually sing the national anthem, yeah? One could make the argument that that is completely useless and unnecessary, considering that rugby teams in South Africa, in the UK, most everywhere, in the finals of their local tournaments, don't sing the national anthem. Why would they? It's literally two teams from the same country. The only reason we do national anthems at international events is because we have two teams from two different nations, so we're singing both of their national anthems. To kind of celebrate that these two teams are taking each other on, and it's sort of war on the pitch, yeah. But is that tradition hurting anyone? Does it hurt anyone that we all stand up and we sing the national anthem, and then we sit down and we watch two teams crush each other for 2 hours? No, doesn't hurt anyone. It's a nice tradition. It brings people together. We all feel a little bit sentimental and emotional because the national anthem is being sung. And then we have two teams hitting the shit out of each other, you know? That would be an example of a tradition that I think is a good thing. Then you compare that to the Pledge of Allegiance that you have at American schools. Do I think that the Pledge of Allegiance should continue? No, because I think on the face of it, it makes very little sense that kids have to pledge allegiance to anyone. I will not pledge allegiance to someone if I don't know their motivations. I'm not loyal to a flag. I'm not loyal to a nation. If the nation happens to be a good nation, I will act with loyalty towards said nation. But if the nation changes and then becomes fucking stupid, I won't, you know? Pow, how you doing, bro? I don't really know much about that, pal, so I can't really give you any insights on that. I've heard that there's been, I think, 22 footballers that have died from heart attacks or ended up in hospital from heart attacks. Like, I've heard that, but I've not done any research. So I really can't tell you if I have thoughts on that. Economic philosophy of patriotism. Oh, I hate patriotism. I absolutely despise it with everything in my being, because patriotism effectively just means that you stop thinking and you just do. You should only be like, patriotism should always be conditional. Wait, what is the Romanian funeral tradition? The disco option. I don't know about this. Tell me what this is. Blasphemous. So just to answer you said you figured. So just to give a little bit more insight into why I don't like patriotism for patriotism's sake. Can we agree that there might be people, say for example in the UK or in South Africa, that you as an American will agree far more on things with them that you would agree with your own country on? Like, there's a possibility that you could meet someone from Europe or someone from Asia, and you have far more in common with, say, a person that you just met from a different country than what you would have with, say, a lot of people in your own country. If we can agree that that is true, then that means that patriotism makes no sense. Thank you very much, Alex. Really appreciate that. Timbers, what do you mean it's a variable question? Body of your loved ones? It's very intense. Jesus. That is very intense. Absolutely. I've got friends all over the world, probably closer ones than in America. So that's why I said that patriotism should be conditional. I can see myself being patriotic towards a nation that I have something in common with. But that's not going to always be the truth. Right? There's going to be times where that nation does things that I don't agree with. And when that nation does things that I don't agree with, should I also then be forced to be patriotic, even though I don't agree with what said nation is actually standing for? No, of course not. I should be able to say, no, I don't agree with you guys. That's true. But if you do agree with that nation, then all in? Yeah, I mean, if my nation tomorrow started to protect the freedoms of the individual, yeah? And my nation tomorrow started to protect free speech, and they believed in allowing people to do what is best for them and what makes them happy, and as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, then, we're not going to interfere at all. I would be very patriotic towards my nation. The problem is my nation does none of those things. My country firmly believes that freedom of speech is basically a hindrance to the government to control what people say, and that it should be knocked down at any given point. We have so many anti-hate laws in South Africa that basically make speech a minefield. Because if you say anything negative about a person, regardless of whether or not you made that negative thing a racial issue or a whatever issue, if the courts can find that what you said, at least to some extent, may have applied to the race of the person, you could be charged with hate speech. Even if all you said was that they're stupid. They're stupid for whatever they fucking said. If the courts find any reason to think that it may have been somewhat related to race or may have been somewhat related to sexual preference or whatever, they can charge you with hate speech. Even if you didn't, because the argument in law, at least in South Africa, is that context doesn't matter. That context is basically applied only in how it was perceived, not in how it was meant. Tim is no, of course. That's why patriotism bothers me a little. Because no, the truth is that you're almost definitely not going to get a single nation where everyone in said nation agrees with you. Or where you agree with them. Is a government raid Akko's home during a stream because he's so open and honest? I don't say many things against... I almost never speak against people. And I think most of my beliefs are fairly timid. Yeah, because I don't have any prejudice. I don't have any bigotry towards anyone. I can have sort of prejudice against an individual because I think they're stupid. I would say that's probably my biggest prejudice, is stupid people. I don't like them. They seem to cause more trouble than what they're fucking worth. But outside of that, I don't really, like... And I'm also very careful, right? I grew up in this country, so I know what I can say and what I can't say. All right, we're up to the admin portion of the stream. Why is Lost Ark blocked in South Africa? Show you guys what I'm up to. What is South African equivalent to FBI? I don't think we have an equivalent to the FBI. Arnold, how you doing, brother? No, we have. I'm lying. We have a thing called the Hawks. But it's sort of like more a special investigative unit. So they basically investigate corruption. They investigate the government. The Hawks don't really... I'd say they're not really the FBI. But South Africa wouldn't need the FBI. Because remember why the FBI was created in the US. Because every state in the US has their own police department that is in no way, shape, or form linked to any other state. And there's even, I believe, I don't know if that's been changed, but there used to be a lot of issues within states where the police from one state wouldn't share information with the police from other states. So you would effectively run into this weird thing where a serial killer will cross over to another state, and the police there would have no idea that this guy is a serial killer. So the FBI was created as sort of to operate across states. So if you committed crimes, say, in 4 different states, the FBI would investigate you because they would have jurisdiction in all 4 of those states, rather than, you know, now you need 4 police departments that's kind of working together so that they can work. Whereas South Africa doesn't have that. The police department, it's literally called the SAPS, which is the South African Police Service. So they, from what I understand, if you are a police officer in one city in South Africa, you are a police officer in all cities in South Africa. Right? The only thing is you won't necessarily be able to make an arrest because your precinct isn't in that city. But if you saw someone committing a crime, you'd absolutely be justified in intervening, which I don't think that's the truth in America. If you're a police officer from New York and you go on holiday in Florida, I believe if there is a crime happening in front of you, you would have no jurisdiction to do anything about that crime outside of a citizen's arrest, for example. When you think they'll allow you to play it? I think it's going to go live tonight at 7, I think. Yeah, it's not available yet. So maybe tonight at 7. It goes even further. How does it go further? Salty fries. Shit. That's not what I wanted to do. That should be fine. Okay, so a state police officer can make an arrest in any county inside a state, but a county police officer cannot make an arrest outside of his county or jurisdiction. Yeah, so you have counties as well. It gets messy, but that's why the FBI was created. Been watching Asmund play it. I kind of like. Dang it, I own the game, but I don't have space to download it. Fuck, that sucks. But the server goes down in 30 minutes for 4 hours notice I just got. Then yes. Yeah, so they are taking the servers down probably to give everyone a fair shot of trying to get back in. No jurisdiction on the highway. That is up to highway patrol. Yeah, so America is a very different country. It's set up a very different way from almost any other country in the world. Canada would be probably the closest nation to America and how its laws are set up, because I know that the different provinces in Canada can also make their own rules, and not all provinces have the same rules. And the federal government don't have power to tell the different provinces how they should set up their rules. So Canada would, in this instance, be more similar to the US than any other nation on Earth, I think. Although I'm not as familiar with Canadian law. I've been running around like derp, touching everything as usual. Are you playing Lost Ark, Saven? Incredible Gamer, how you doing? Hey, hoe gaan het, bro? Suid-Afrikaner in Australië. Maak sin, amper al die Suid-Afrikaners is in Australië. I've been downloading Lost Ark for 3 hours. Only 40%. Jesus. I can't play it. I don't think it's launched yet. Yeah, the button is still grayed out for me. So, we'll see. Throughout Alabama, it's illegal for a person to walk down the street with an ice cream cone in their back pocket. Huh? Wait, isn't there there's another state where it's illegal to pronounce the state's name wrong? What's that state called again? But it's like illegal. You could get a fine, I think, if you said the state's name wrong. I'm trying to remember now. It's a state where the pronunciation of the state's name isn't obvious based on how the state is written. Oh, salty fries. Yes, it's a Germanic language. It's a mixture of Dutch, German, and French. Arkansas, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. So you can't say Arkansas because it's not Arkansas, it's Arkansas. But if you read Arkansas, right, if you read the name, it's not obvious that you would say Arkansas, is it? Like, if I just wrote that and you had no idea how to pronounce it, you would say Arkansas, right? Because that's literally what's written there. In Alabama, it's illegal to drive blindfolded. It's an actual law. There's some crazy ones out there. It's illegal to put the... What? So what I want to know is, how was that law created? It's illegal to drive blindfolded. Who got caught and when driving blindfolded? You say Arkansas, Arnold? You'd get arrested in Arkansas. Take no challenge, to be honest. It doesn't it, Hungry? Us Pete from Alabama have a lot of stupid, ridiculous laws, like not spitting on the ground in front of a woman. Wow. I think a lot of that comes maybe from the olden days, no? Legal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. It's insane to me that these things are laws, because all laws, or almost all laws, have their origins from actual events, right? Something would happen, and then they wouldn't know how to deal with it because it's not explicitly against the law, and then lawmakers will come and make laws to combat the thing. Now, who the fuck was caught with a donkey in a bathtub that effectively made lawmakers go, we need a law against this? Bathtub, which filled with water and whisked him miles away. After working to rescue the animal, the town passed a law that prohibits donkeys from sleeping in the bathtub, though it's okay for them to stand in one. Oh my Christ. Wait, what incest thing? I'm just imagining he's surprised, someone finding him bathing with a donkey. Well, was he in the bathtub with said donkey? Or was the donkey in the bathtub all by its lonesome? Shamanita, how you doing? To be fair, I don't think you should spit in front of anyone. I think spitting is, like, really fucking gross. But it is interesting that it somehow is a law. Like, why would it be a law? I don't think it has to be a law. Why is it saying Africa is not a word? What? How do you want me to spell this then? Oh, you want me to do it with... Okay. Lost Ark. Say this, there's a lot of sick beeps out there. You can flog your wife in Mississippi as long as the stick is no bigger than the judge's thumb. That's something that was in the UK as well. Ludrin, how you doing? In Louisiana, it's illegal to send a surprise pizza. Who's going to report you to the cops? Like, what person is going to get a surprise pizza delivery and go, I will call the cops, this is disgusting. How dare they? In Virginia, it is a 1-inch stick on the steps of the courthouse on Sunday at 12. Jesus. If it's a surprise pizza, but they have to pay for it, then, okay, maybe that makes sense. So they're forced to... So you make them pay for it. You just order it on their behalf. It kind of makes sense that that would be a law, but then at the same time, you could just have companies have a thing against that, right? Isaac, I love you. He's exactly right. You're the one who has to pay for the pizza, and they could send you 100. But you don't have to pay. You could literally just go, I did not order this. Fuck off with your 100 pizzas. Right? And then it would be up to that company to force you. In Georgia, it's funny. So I've done this before. Basically, if I lived in Louisiana, I would have gotten a $500 fine. Because I moved to a new address. Right? This was like when I lived in Polokwane still. I moved to a new address. I went on my app to order food, and I forgot to change my address. So then they delivered the food to the wrong fucking house. Luckily, they phoned me, and they're like, "Hey, we were trying to deliver the food, but the people there said they didn't order food." And I was like, "Where are you?" And they gave me the address. Like, oh my fuck, that's the old address. I'm so sorry. So I gave them the actual address, and they brought me my food. But you could just tell the company that's delivering the pizza, I didn't order this, I'm not paying for it. Five pizzas? Dude, I haven't had pizza in such a long time. It's been a long-ass fucking time. What other tags could I put in here? I'm done with tags. I'm bored now. Let's just do Lost Ark and be done with it. I hate the tag system. They may as well just remove it. In Nevada, it's illegal to ride a camel on the freeway. Who the fuck rode a camel on the freeway? Dude, some laws, dude. Sometimes I think that some lawmakers are genuinely just bored. Like, you have these lawmakers that basically have to pass laws because, well, they have to look busy. Yeah. If they're not passing laws, people are going to think they're not doing anything. So they basically just go, well, you know, it's that time of the year, guys. We need about 20 laws so we can brag about how we passed 180 million laws in the county in the last year. You know, it's election season. He got a DUI on a horse. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think riding a horse drunk is the same as riding a car. Driving a car, anyways. Like, if you're riding your horse drunk, your horse still has eyes, right? Like, the horse can see where it's going, and it could go, yeah, I'm not going there. I know you want to go into this building, but I'm not going into this fucking building. So how about we go around the building? I'm not going into the building. A car doesn't have that option. If you aim for the building, the car is going where you're going, and it will come to a stop when there's enough walls to slow it down. Yeah? So I don't automatically think that you can give someone a DUI for riding a horse drunk. Yeah, but I was aiming for them, and in the game at least, the horse does what you tell it to do. If I wanted to go into, and I've done this, I went into a building with my horse. It did not end well. I got very hurt as a result of that in the game. But in real life, at least, that's not obvious that would happen. Horses are incredibly smart. Like, what do you mean? Horses are incredibly smart. If you're drunk and your horse gets in a panic, then who is going to stop it? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But still, I don't know how... Even a horse in a panic is probably not going to run into a fucking building. It's probably just going to run away. Commit murder while wearing a bulletproof vest. Huh? So if I'm not wearing a bulletproof vest, is it still illegal to murder someone? Or is that fine then? Yeah, Roach would probably run into a fucking building when it gets spooked. But Roach is the dumbest horse on the planet. It is just extra illegal to wear the vest. You see, that's what I mean when I say there are lawmakers out there who is simply passing laws because, you know, they want to look busy. Murder is already illegal. It does not need to come with extra steps. You do not need a law that says it is illegal to kill someone with a bulletproof vest. It's already illegal. Let's just stick with the fact that it is illegal in all senses. Because if you say it is illegal to kill someone with a bulletproof vest, that should mean that there are instances in which it would be legal to kill someone, right? Because you basically had to stipulate specifically that wearing the vest makes it an illegal act. I would say I can see it as an extension of punishment, because a lot of laws has to do with punishment. So I could see that as sort of a bylaw, in which case it would be part of the murder law, which would state that if you killed someone, very illegal, say 15 years prison time. But if you killed them wearing a bulletproof vest, 20 years, straight off. Clean, how you doing? Maybe they can give you a higher sentence if you want. If you were, it's because it seems more premeditated. Yeah, I could see that. But then again, that would be covered under murder in the first degree. Because murder in the first degree is premeditated murder, which almost always carries a much higher sentence than any other sort of homicide. So if you had murder in the first degree, that would basically cover, because if you had a bulletproof vest on, that would be indicative of premeditation. Therefore, it would carry the max sentence, because I think murder in the first degree does carry the maximum sentence. Which I'm not sure. In the US, it is 25 years is a life sentence, correct? Or is 25 years, and then you're out? Because in South Africa, 25 years is a life sentence, whichever one comes last, effectively. So if you get 25 years in prison, you basically get life in prison. That means that if you only have 10 years left to live, obviously you died, so that was life. If you have more than 25 years to live, you're still in jail because that is a life sentence. 400 years in prison? Yeah, that's where you get those multiple life sentences. Which is, to me, again, seems just like someone is trying to justify their existence. So, in South Africa, we also have that, Josh, where if you get a 25-year sentence, that is a life sentence. But usually when it's handed down as a 25-year sentence, it's 25 or life. And then, in general, that means that after 25 years, you may apply for parole. So if after 25 years you prove that you changed and shit like that, you may. But then again, usually it comes down as 25 years with no possibility of parole. Which means whichever one comes last. Either you lose your life or you're going to sit in... Like, if you're going to live longer than 25 years, you're going to be there for life. If you don't live longer than 25 years, obviously you're going to die. So it doesn't matter. Some belong there till they die. You see, I think jails is one of the biggest scammazes on the planet. Because you have to consider, what is every prison system in the world called? It's the recreational department of every country in the world. Recreational suggests that we are trying to sort of reestablish some form of humanity. Now, that's not possible for all prisoners, as you know. But based on success, right? So based on... Oh, not recreational, yeah. Rehabilitation. It's the rehabilitation and something else. Rehabilitation and corrections. That's the one. Sorry, yeah. Rehabilitation and corrections facility. Both of those words mean change. But that's not what we do with people when we put them in prison. Prisoners don't change. The world over, the recommitting rate, the recommittance rate for prisoners is almost always plus 90%. 90% of all prisoners that do go to jail, even for petty crimes, will oftentimes return within the first year for even more serious crimes after their first time in jail. So something isn't working in our prison systems. Like, whatever the fuck we're doing in prisons right now, it's not working. So, Foul Smoke, there's like a bunch of problems that I have with the legal system in general. Yeah? For example, if you're gonna have people in prison and rehabilitation is actually one of your primary goals, surely then you need to have psychologists that work with people in prison. Not just because we sometimes have psychologists that work with like severely dangerous criminals, more often for study purposes than for actual rehabilitation purposes and correction purposes. But it would be almost guaranteed that some level of psychiatric care or psychological care would be required, right, for all prisoners. Then I would say that certain things like, for example, structure, like the ability to introduce some form of what's the English word? Discipline, right? Job training. So in other words, give people a reason to live. Maybe give them the ability to make money within the prison whilst learning skills. And then I think actually the biggest reason why most of these things fail is aftercare. It doesn't matter that you come out of prison with a degree or you come out of prison with the ability to sort of, or you have a skill. You almost never get work afterwards because you're a felon or an ex-felon. And that's why most people return to crime, because what are you going to do, right? You just got out of prison, you have no money, no nothing, and you also can't get a job. How the fuck are you supposed to eat? Right? So there should be systems in place, and you don't need the government for that. You could literally make it so that if businesses employ ex-criminals, they get tax breaks. So you give businesses an incentive to actually employ people from the criminal world, trying to get them back into society and working. Because the evidence does actually show that criminals that do come out of prison, who do manage to reconnect with their families, reconnect with their sort of societies, are far less likely to recommit violence. But we don't do that. We treat criminals the same way we treat most military veterans. We make a big hoo-ha when they're off to war, and then as soon as they get back, we're like, okay, good luck, peace. You know. And then I'm not entirely sure how I feel about prisons being businesses, which is something that's very real in the US. You have these private prisons. Now, if you make something like a prison, if you give it a profit incentive, would returning customers not be like at the top of that prison's priority list? Because why wait for new customers when you already have a house full of customers that is just burning to get back, right? In Scandinavia, if you are low risk, you can get a job as store cashier outside and prison rest at the time. So there's actually sort of a lot of things. I was watching a video the other day. So in most states in the US, what's the English word for it? I always struggle to say this word. Conjugal visits. Is that what it's called? Conjugal visits, I think it's called, right? Get the mage, how you doing? Yeah. So apparently in most states in the US, those have been basically just removed. In most states, those are very rare for you to actually have. And most people in movies and stuff think that it's sex visits. So you get the opportunity to sleep with your wife. In reality, most criminals don't use conjugal visits for sex. Most criminals use it to spend time with their family, their wife, their kids, their father, their mother. Friends come to visit them. And the evidence seems to show that criminals who do get like conjugal visits, say once a year, twice a year, 3-4 times a year, are far better behaved inside the prison, but also find it much easier to reconnect with their societies and their communities once they get out of prison. So it's sort of like, why did you outlaw a system that seems to have worked and seems to work, right? It's not a human right. The argument effectively, which is something that I don't know how I feel about it, but the argument effectively is that once you committed crime, you lose all human rights. Like you lose your right to humanity because you betrayed humanity through crime. Now, obviously, this would depend on the seriousness of your crime. So someone that's in prison, for example, for a drug bust, will probably be able to get as many visitors as they want. They're like a low tier offender. It's not the worst thing in the world. But if you're like a murderer, that's a whole different discussion, you know. It just feels to me like it's not obvious to me that prisons are what they're called. It feels more like the name Rehabilitation and Corrections Facility or Rehabilitation and Corrections Department. It feels like that's a nice name to mislead the public from what it actually is, you know? So it's sort of like whenever you see a bill from politicians, they'll give the bill a really nice name, and then inside the bill, like the Patriots Act, right? The Patriots Act sounds beautiful. We're all patriotic here. And then you read the Patriots Act and you're like, wait a second. You're basically treating all of us as criminals. Like this entire act destroys all of our privacy, all of our fucking rights. But it's called the Patriot Act, you know? Dashcat, how you doing? So it basically makes it so no one can actually criticize the Patriot Act, because if you do criticize the act, then that must mean you're not a patriot, right? And how dare you not be a patriot? It's strange to me. I hate the wording of prisons. When you say that, they say, yeah, but terrorism? Yeah, terrorism. So basically the answer to terrorism is to fucking monitor everything everyone does. I have no problem if you have reasonable suspicion that someone might be in fucking into some shit that they shouldn't do. Then yeah, absolutely get your court orders and fucking monitor them. But I don't know how I feel about every single citizen effectively being monitored 24/7 because, you know, you might at some point do something. Went to prison, got out on phone and stuffed a bottle of pills up his ass and got busted. Jesus. That is some commitment. It's already happening? No, of course. I mean, to be fair, I am saying this and I have a Google smartphone and I have an Android smartphone. How is this not exactly the same thing that the government is doing? So we're saying all these things, but in essence, we don't really care, you know? The vast majority of people only care when it's completely obvious that their freedoms are taken away from them. Like, in theory, we agree, don't take my fucking freedom. But in reality, we probably don't, you know? Private companies can't imprison you yet. Eludrin, yet. Now, I'm not being some conspiracy theorist here. I'm literally talking about cyberpunk. Because in cyberpunk, private companies can absolutely imprison you. they can remove your comments if they don't like them. At Kmart, AI telling the father that his daughter was pregnant. Wait, what? They actually just had an article I saw this morning saying they yet again found proof the CIA is spying on us. And everyone goes, yeah, we've known that for years. I'm just going to throw this out there, but the last president of the United States that wanted to abolish the CIA got assassinated. Conveniently before he could actually abolish the CIA. So I would say the CIA is probably one of the worst terrorist organizations in the world. And if anyone is going, dude, that's a conspiracy theory, it really isn't. He was on record saying to a foreign power that he is going to abolish the CIA. Like, this isn't conspiracy. He genuinely said. Now, it could be conspiracy theory that he, that the CIA killed him. We don't know. It's just interesting that as soon as he wanted to do it, you know, he got offed. Buy and suggest other items. This father got a letter suggesting that he would want to buy diapers and other shit for his daughter. Oh my Jesus. Imagine that. Otto, that is rough. Fuck my life, that is rough. Imagine, like, that is one of the worst things you have to tell your parents, right? Telling your parents that you're pregnant, especially if you're very young, yeah? And, then it's not even you that get to tell your parents. It's the AI at the local Kmart that sends a letter to your parents going, so you might want to get some diapers because your daughter is almost definitely pregnant. Oh my God, that is rough. Josh, I watched a lot of documentaries on JFK's assassination, and I agree with everything you just said. I mean, I don't know. How many of you... Have any of you here played Cyberpunk? I know Apocalypse played it. So how many of you think the future might be Cyberpunk? We might eventually live in the world of Cyberpunk. You guys don't think so? All right. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of ideas here. So for those of you that's never read the book Cyberpunk 2020, which is the original rule book for Cyberpunk tabletop, yeah? Cyberpunk 2020 was written in the 1980s by a man with the name Mike Pondsmith. Fantastic fucking writer, yeah? Now, Mike Pondsmith suggested Cyberpunk 2020 follows the year 2020, and he said there's going to be a massive movement prior to 2020. There's going to be a giant movement of minorities effectively demanding more and more rights. Yeah? So this would be the gay movement, the trans movement, the minority movements. They're all going to demand more and more rights. The corporations of the world then, in an effort to grab power, more and more power, basically, in the book, it's due to profit incentives. So they want to make more money, but the only way for them to make more money is to effectively pretend like they're on the side of the minorities. So all of these corporations hone in on this minority rights movement. Yeah, they're going fucking all out. And before people go, obviously racist. Mike Pondsmith's a black guy, so you could probably say he has some kind of racism, but I don't think so. Because he doesn't actually make a sort of judgment on minorities. He basically makes a judgment on corporations within the book. So these corporations hone in on this minority movement, yeah, and they basically start passing all of these algorithms and things that protect minorities. This is effectively what the algorithms do. These companies change the way they advertise to appeal to minorities more. They jump on board with every single minority movement, and then they start lobbying government. And they go, look, we want to fight the hate that minorities get, but we can't fight the hate that minorities get with the powers that we have. We need more power. We need more freedom so that we can do better. The people then start screaming for the governments to give these companies more power so that these companies can eradicate the hate that is shown at minority people. Once these corporations get more and more of these freedoms, the corporations eventually rise in power to the level of government. So these corporations basically have their own private security firms that go to people's houses and arrest them whenever they type things that they shouldn't be typing. It eventually reaches the point where even thinking things that you shouldn't be thinking. So you're talking to a friend and you're telling them, yeah, I don't know about this movement or I don't know about that movement. There would be a private security firm that picks you up and takes you to jail. This escalates even further to the point where the government starts realizing that they're losing control of their countries. The corporations have gotten too powerful. So now the government tries to pass laws that sort of limits what these companies can do once again. As a result, these companies declare war on the government. The government thinks that they can rely on their militaries. The problem is that these militaries are completely and wholly funded by private corporations. All of their equipment belongs to private corporations. So if the military were to rise up against the corporations, they would literally just disable the equipment and the military wouldn't be able to fight. So the government is completely overthrown, and then follows the Corpo Wars, where these corporations are now fighting over the world. And they basically end up changing every country in the world, or every city in the world, to a corporate city. Right? So you would have Google running Los Angeles, and you would have Amazon running, Austin or some shit like that. So every city sort of runs its own, it has its own corporation that runs the city. They then, and this, by the way, is all in the game. It's insane, like the way they introduce you in the game to what these corporations are doing. So now the whole world is run, but the companies aren't stupid. So they give people the illusion of choice. They set up the corporate Congress, which is the Congress that people can vote for. So people vote for their mayors. They vote for congressmen and women. But these congressmen and women belong to the corporations. They can effectively suggest things to the corporations, and then the corporations can decide whether or not they implement it. So basically, the corporate Congress for every country decides what the country should be and what the countries are and what the countries do. At some point, these corporations start realizing that power is still outside of their grasp. They're still struggling to control the people. So they end up basically poisoning the entire world outside of cities. So most of the cities are like barren fucking lands, like deserts and shit, because they've gone full scorched earth on most things that they couldn't control. Because all farming, all food, everything comes from corporations. Like everything is controlled by your corporations. Your medicine comes from specific corporations that sell you whatever. And then, and this is where things get really interesting, after the corporations have consolidated literally all of their power to the point where they've They've done everything that they could to try to bring about utopia, right? To build this world where the people would stop fucking about and just do as they're told. They finally realized that this can't happen. They don't know how to make this happen. So they give up on the riffraff, on all of us. They just give up. They basically leave you to do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, they couldn't care less. You just do your thing. They only really protect the rich. So if you go to the rich areas in Night City, it's very well behaved, very beautiful, very clean. The people live in giant mansions. And then you go into, like, the rest of Night City, and it is fucking death and murder and people killing each other in the street, and gangs run the whole thing. And the corporations don't really care. As long as the riffraff doesn't bother them and steal from them, they're all good. They don't care too much. That's the game of Cyberpunk. Bro, you play Cyberpunk and you're like, how did he know? How did he know? Did he like fucking, did he travel in time to see how these things are going to happen and how these things are going to be set up? How did he know that these things are coming? Yeah, sort of, Otto. I don't think I've ever played a game called Remember Me. No. Salty fries. A good chunk of Russian military works on goods made and sold by TNCs. Many of our tanks, aircrafts, and other important war stuff can't be made if TNC just say no. We won't sell you stuff like parts, electronics, and etc. Not a fictional movie. It's a documentary of the future. You see, for me, I think if you have, and I think it's not unfair of me to say, most of the best writers we've ever had in the history of humanity have always been quite philosophical. They'll write things that at the time might seem a little bit ludicrous, but then you move on a couple of years, now especially looking back at some of those writers, you go, wow, how did they see this? Like, how did they see that this was going to happen? Orwell is a very good example of that, right? Writing a book that suggests a world that at the time you would have thought impossible. This will never happen. And now we live in a time where Orwell basically may have written the book basically as an explanation for what the fuck is going on, right? And you sort of you realize that there may be people like Mike Pondsmith, like the writers for Blade Runner, even like the writer for The Matrix, that sees the world around them and realizes that this is the inevitable end of the things that we're doing right now. If you watch Harry Potter and you look past the magic, it is effectively a book that speaks about the corruption of government, the corruption of authority, the complacency of people to simply accept things, whether or not they're true, whether or not it's true doesn't really matter. It's phenomenal how many writers just get this right, and how do they get this right? Esprit, how you doing, brother? What am I? Wait, what? I don't know what the fuck that is, but okay. Wait, what was I trying to do? Oh, I remember now. For some reason, this will not work. Why will it not work? There we go. That works. To patch release on the 22nd. Who in chat is returning to play it? I have that itchy download WoW now feel. Help. Who is returning to play it? I'd love to know. How many of you are going back to play World of Warcraft? Also my thing? Don't know. I will. Never left. Just don't play as much. Never ever again. I don't know yet. Like, I genuinely don't know yet if whether or not I will be returning to the game. I've thought about it. To be honest with you, I have thought about it. But if I do go back, it will mainly be just to return, just to try it out and see what it's like. That would be why I return. I would probably not return for any other reason. Because I don't think 9.2, and this is not because I think 9.2 isn't going to be fun. I think it is going to be fun. I think it's going to be fine, right? It's more a case of I don't think 9.2 gave them enough time to basically get the game into the place that they wanted the game to be in, you know? I think if you're someone that has, like, certain reasons why you play, you're gonna enjoy playing World of Warcraft 9.2. So if you love raiding, if you love the Mythic Plus stuff, or if you do casual stuff more, I think you're still gonna enjoy it, because those things are obviously not going away, and the new raid does actually look really cool. But I think if you're like me, and you're actually looking for a hell of a lot of other things in the game, then 9.2 probably isn't ready yet. It's not where World of Warcraft needs to be if it wants to bring you back. You're gonna have to wait till 10.0. Because if Blizzard really is serious about changing the way they do things, then 10.0 is gonna be the first time that you're gonna see that in action. Like the new and improved World of Warcraft experience. They do seem to listen a hell of a lot more than they've ever done before. Even now, I can tell you, yes, Blizzard have always done at the end of patches, you know, that thing where now they finally listen. So I'll actually tell you what really pisses me off slightly. It slightly pisses me off. Not necessarily to the point where, like, I can understand why people feel this way, and I catch myself feeling this way as well. You know, everyone that is anti-WoW right now is basically going, well, this is just more Blizzard bullshit, you know? Every single time at the end of an expansion, Blizzard listens, and then the next expansion comes around, and then Blizzard stops listening. That's not entirely true. It's true to some extent. At the end of every single expansion, Blizzard does listen to an extent. But if you go to the end of BFA, Blizzard listened to a lot of the feedback of BFA. But Blizzard still introduced corruptions at the end of BFA. So they didn't really listen to everything that Blizzard is doing, right? Oh, that players are complaining about. What I will say that is different this time, and why I think a lot of people are unfairly not giving Blizzard at least some acknowledgement of this. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying that you should give Blizzard acknowledgement to the point where you go back and resub for a 6-month mount. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, call out when something is good, and then criticize when stuff is bad. If you look at how much people have complained about during this patch cycle, right? During this sort of beta PTR patch cycle, and how quickly Blizzard have responded to the QQs of the player base. Like, as soon as the player base goes, hey, we don't like what you're doing there, Blizzard comes in with a fix. Like, instantly. Is it always the right fix? No, it's not always the right fix. But if you look, for example, at the legendary, they had the legendary tied to an incredible amount of farming. Like, you would have to grind to get that legendary. They're walking that back. Just yesterday, Blizzard released a blue post where they said, hey, we heard what you guys said. We don't want the new zone to turn into a basic hunt for rares non-stop. I'll quickly pull up Twitter so I can show you guys. So Barilla tweeted this, or retweeted this. Here we go. All right, so this is Blizzard's blue post. Blizzard says, in principle, this principle is a good one. People shouldn't feel like they need to play every day, and people shouldn't feel like when they play, the incentives don't steer people towards the fun. So yeah, we hear the community concerns with overweighting rares. When rares constitute the lion's share of the total rep that you can get in a day, that can create a sense of obligation to pursue them all. Since there are so many, this turns the daily acquisition of rep into a time-consuming process rather than something you can target and complete, or mostly complete, in a reasonable play session. We want rares to feel like a bonus rather than an obligation. So the reputation earned from rares is being decreased from 15 or 30 rep each to 10 or 15 rep each. So this basically, just right off the bat, it creates this sort of thing where so they basically explain later on in this post. I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's basically, they basically say here, if you do no rares and you just do the twice weekly quest as well as the world boss once a week or once a day, depending on how often you have to do it, and you do the world quests in the zone, right? So that's all you do. You don't kill any of the rares. You will still unlock Revered by week 5. So you'll still get Revered by week 5. If you want to rush even more and you want to get to Exalted by week 5, you can also spam rares. So if you're someone that likes doing rares and you like killing rares for rewards, that will reward you with a little bit more rep, right? So you are getting that little extra cherry on top, but you're not forced anymore to do a bunch of these rares every single day so that you can ultimately get. So diligent farming isn't necessarily like as asked for, if you will. Now, is this in general a good move? I think everyone can agree yes. And this is exactly what I've been saying for such a long time. If you want to be in a position where you criticize World of Warcraft, then you must also be willing to praise them when they do good. If they do something good, if they do something that you go, yep, that's a good change, then say it. Nothing's gonna fucking take away from that. If someone wants to call me a fence sitter because I praise Blizzard when they do good things and I criticize when they do bad things, that's their own fucking shortcomings. I believe that you can't just focus on the negative when there are obvious good things as well. If they don't do good things, that's a whole different discussion. Yeah, that's a whole different thing. Now, is this everything that I want? No, of course not. Personally, I would prefer if none of this was required for me to unlock my legendaries. That's what I would have preferred. But that's not what I'm getting. At least I'm not going to be forced, if I play the game, I'm not going to be forced to spam rares in order to get it. So this isn't 100% what I asked for, but it's at least 100% better than what they had a week ago. And this is sort of the point that I'm trying to make with this discussion. We cannot expect Blizzard to change when all we do is bitch about every single change that they make, even if it is a good change. You can absolutely sit there and go, yeah, that's a great change, Blizzard, but you could do more. That's good. That's feedback. That means the Blizzard knows that they still have a way to go. So I'm not involved. I'm not one of these people that say now just praise Blizzard forever because they did a good thing. No, you're absolutely, but don't just go, well, fuck you because I still have to fucking do this, fuck you, right? I don't think you're going to get the change that you're hoping for with that attitude. You can absolutely, when they make mistakes, criticize. Now, I'll say, like I said before, if you want the real World of Warcraft experience that hopefully Blizzard is working towards, we're going to have to wait for 10.0. I don't think we're going to get it in 9.2, mainly because of how 9.2 is built, how Shadowlands was built. There's certain systems in there that's just not going to go away in a normal patch cycle. It would require some rewriting and some rewriting of the systems in order to get to that point. We sort of have to, but the general criticism that I hear from a lot of negative people in World of Warcraft is that, dude, this is nothing to get excited about. Blizzard have done this for years. Every single time at the end of the expansion, they basically give up and they just give the players everything they ask for. It has never happened to this extent. Almost every single week, we get some blue post from Blizzard walking back what they did before because players genuinely were outraged by the choices that they made, and then they come up with a new idea for what they're going to do for what they're going to do going forward. This, by the way, is, I think, Blizzard's third iteration on this system. The original system, I think, was incredibly weighted towards world quests and something else. Like, you would basically be forced to just spam world quests as often as possible. They then changed it to where they made rares the main focus. And again, people bitched. People like, why are you doing this? Now I have to farm rares the whole day. And now they're sort of bringing it to that place where they say, okay, wait a second. What if we give you a mix of both? So let's say you don't want to do a world quest. So world quest will now give you 125, yeah? But let's say you don't really want to farm every single world quest in the zone every single day. Well, 5 or 6 rares that you're killing with your friends, and maybe you enjoy rares, will basically give you the 125 rep that you're not getting from the world quest that you're doing, right? So you have options. You have the ability to say, well, I actually want to do this instead. I'm not going to farm as much of this. So it should work out a little bit better on that front. And this is definitely a showcase of Blizzard being much more responsive than any other time in history with how they respond to player feedback and how people feel about certain things happening. Can it be better? It can always be better. The biggest issue I have still to this day is the fact that this outcry is necessary. It's the mindset that goes into it that I still have a problem with. The fact that Blizzard still believes that, hey, in order for us to give the player power, we have to make them farm it. And it's kind of like, wait, but why do we still have this old school way of thinking about things? Why can't the power just come from the raid or from the dungeons? Why must the power always come from rep grinds or from unnecessary farms, you know? Or why can't the power come from the story and the story alone? Why must the power be tied to some kind of farming bullshit? You know, so that's sort of the general, I think, issue that I still have with Blizzard's mindset. But to say that Blizzard is still the old Blizzard and nothing has changed, that is just a lie. There's clearly an attempt from Blizzard to change the way in which they apply themselves. And you should, at least to some extent, acknowledge that and then say this is not a bad thing. And Hungry Lizard, that's not entirely true. It's not entirely true. Yes, you unlock the helm, right? Or the belt, I think, through the story. But if you don't want that belt, if you want a different slot, then you need the rep. That's like really, that's like saying, well, actually, no, it's not against the law to steal. But as long as you like don't get caught paying for it, then you can get then you can get away with it. It's like, what are you saying? Like, you're basically making a point without a difference. Like, there's no difference in that. Not everyone is going to wear the belt, and not everyone's going to want to wear the belt. And so if you want to unlock 2 legendaries, then you are going to be forced to do the rep grind. Because ultimately, you're not going to have access to 2 legendaries unless, of course, the legendary that you want is, in essence, the belt or the head. I can't remember what legendary it is, right? No, but, okay, so the reason you can... I see what the point that you're trying to make, and in theory, I do agree with you, Lizard. But in principle, I have to disagree. Because effectively... I'm putting a bowl of sweets in front of you, and I'm telling you, you're only allowed to eat the green ones. And the green ones aren't great. They're fine, but they're not great. If you want to eat the red ones, you have to eat 50 of the green ones. And then someone else goes, well, they're not allowing you to eat the red ones, but you just have to eat the green ones first. It's like, but no, not really, because I still have to eat a bunch of shit I don't want to eat before I can get to the ones that I want to eat, you know? So you are it's basically, it's a soft lock, I think is the best way I can put it. Right? It's a soft lock. There is sort of a soft lock on Dual Legendary. Because yes, you get access to 1 legendary slot if you complete the story. But if you want all the legendary slots or more legendary slots, you're going to have to wait. Or you're going to have to grind rep. And for classes, so actually best way to put this. For any class in which the slot that opens up through the story isn't the slot that they want for min-max, the rep is absolutely not optional. The rep is 100% required. Correct? If you need to min-max, so you have to have the best possible mixture. Stolly, how you doing, bro? Hero Effect, how you doing? Then you aren't excluded from the rep grind. The rep grind is absolutely mandatory. The slot is only available for the Covenant Lego, since you're only allowed to equip 1 normal Lego and 1 Covenant Lego. The only limitation here is if you want your Covenant Lego in the different slot. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Right? If, for example, so semantically, if, for example, you wanted if your Covenant Lego was your base Lego, yeah, would you not still be forced then to farm the rep? Or would the rep still be optional for you? Clubber Time, how you doing, bro? What, who's there? Clubber Time. And the fact that you're still forced to do rep if you don't need the... If you want a very specific legendary, means that it's not really an optional thing. At least not for the classes that need a different legendary than the one that you get at the end of the story. So therefore, rep for the majority of classes will most likely be a requirement and not a choice. So that is still tying player power behind a rep grind. There's no difference there. Your ultimate power is still behind a rep grind that you will be forced to do if you want to unlock your ultimate power, which is literally in the thing that I have a problem with. Well, was this reaction? It was, yeah, it was kind of. I'm not so sure that that's a good title, but fuck it, we'll run with it, I suppose. I have like 20 minutes to release this video, so we don't have a choice here. I disagree, but I really struggle explaining and typing. I'm not sure, like, All right, you can jump into if Discord would be easier for you, we can jump into a Discord voice channel and you can explain it to me. So I'm in general. If you wish to explain it to me, I'm in general. If you want to make your case, you're welcome to come into general and make your case. I should actually do... Okay, Brave is now starting to fucking lag on everything that I do. I'm gonna have to figure out why Brave is lagging. It has to be... I don't know what fucking issue it could be, but anyways. Wait, what clip is this? I'm putting a bowl of sweets in front of you, and I'm telling you, you're only allowed to eat the green ones. And the green ones aren't great. They're fine, but they're not great. If you want to eat the red ones, you have to eat 50 of the green ones. And then someone else goes, well, they're not allowing you to eat the red ones, but you just have to eat the green ones first. So, but no, not really, because I still have to eat a bunch of shit I don't want to eat before I can get to the ones that I want to eat. True. You know? So you are it's basically, it's a soft lock, I think is the best way I can put it. Right? It's a soft lock. There is sort of a soft lock on Dual Legendary. Because yes, I agree with myself 100% slot if you complete the story. But if you want all the legendary slots or more legendary slots, you're gonna have to... Yep, agree with myself. I'll retweet this. Why not? Let's retweet that shit. That makes sense to me. Lost Ark, Amazon, Lost Ark. Lost Ark launch. Fuck now. I hate tags, bro. Time gating on legendary system, from what I hear, it's like that on purpose. My problem isn't that it's time gated, Stolly. That's not really what I mind. I don't mind the fact that it's time gated. I mind how it's time gated. I have no problem with the first legendary being available from the story. That kind of makes sense. As you finish the story, you get more powerful, you know, and it makes sense that eventually you unlock this power to equip a second legendary. Maybe one of the eternal ones blesses you, whatever the fuck, right? Doesn't really matter. But then to hide a different part of that behind the rep, that I do mind. Because you're effectively introducing these incredibly weird reasons to force people to play the game, when in reality, if the game was fun, you wouldn't need to force people into it, right? Yeah, Lizard, you're absolutely welcome to jump into voice channel. Like, anyone is welcome. It's not just Lizard. If you have an opinion on this topic and you think I'm wrong, you're very welcome to jump in and share your thoughts on why you think I'm wrong. To me, like, combat is good, great even, but then it feels like a cheap mobile game. I haven't checked it out yet, so we'll see. This is just me discussing the hype around Lost Ark. We discussed this yesterday, and it's more about MMOs than anything else. What do you mean it's locked for you? Oh, can you not get into any of the voice channels here? I think you need to type a few times first. I think you have to send 2 messages in Discord in order to be able to join voice channels, if I'm not mistaken. I think. I could be wrong. Whoa. Alex. We'll see what he says, and then we can. Yeah, Alex, something is wrong here. This video is almost definitely not the video that I reacted to. All right, so Alex, the video that you uploaded where I react to Balila is literally 5 seconds long. Yeah. This is definitely, like, I know we wanted to make more shorts, but I don't think I said anything of value at all in these 5 seconds. Because it was literally just me going, yeah, we will react to him and then we'll see what he says. And that's it. That's the end of that discussion. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the kind of content we want to produce. Lovecraft, season 2, episode 5. Can't remember what. Apocalypse, what was the lore theory that we discussed again? Actually, what was the discussion topics that we went into again for this? I can't remember everything we fucking discussed. I should really start writing down what we fucking discuss in the Lovecraft episodes. Leros how to user could 500 IQ us with the twist. Oh, that is true.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, is this Lizard?
Yes, hello.
Hey, you're pretty quiet. Hold up, let me just see if I can turn you up on my end. All right, says you can speak now. See if it works.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Chat, can you guys hear her, or is she too quiet?
I don't know. I'll just keep talking.
Yeah. You seem to be fine. All right, Lizard, let me have it.
Thank you. I just really struggle like typing it up stuff. So thank you for just letting me explain. I'm gonna be very quick anyway.
No, that's fine.
Actually, what I was just trying to say is, so for example, and this is just anecdotal experience, right? At the moment, I do raid Mythic, right? I clear Mythic Sylvanas, all that stuff, and from my current experience, you are locked into a slot anyway, right? At the moment, there's only one viable slot for a legendary that you can use, even though there's multiples. Just by the way that the gear lists work and the way that my guild, for example, distributes loot and just everything, the way that works, you are currently locked into a slot anyway. And with next patch, you will have those specific slots for the tier sets. Those will be locked slots. And then obviously out of the 2 legendaries, you've got the single Lego, which is the Covenant, and then the normal Lego. Those ones, it's most likely, just by the way it looks like now, that the belt slot will be the best one for the Covenant Lego anyway. so it doesn't look like many people will need to unlock that additional feature. And by the way, I generally agree with your sentiment that, I'm not a fan of rep being tied to anything. I hated the codex. Like, I had to farm that in like 2 weeks to Exalted just so I can get sockets for raid, and that was terrible, right?
Yeah.
I agree. Just saying that purely technically, at the moment, it's not going to feel like it's going to be tied to rep just because of that slot type of thing. On a more casual side, I can completely understand why people would want to unlock it. And again, I agree with that. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to explain, but I couldn't really type it out.
Let me ask you this. So, because I have not, and I've said this on Twitter, I've said this on stream, I have not kept up with changes in World of Warcraft at all since I quit playing about 4 months ago, right? I basically finished with World of Warcraft, and the only thing I still keep up with is the lore to some extent for patrons. That's it, because I still make lore videos for patrons. I don't otherwise really cover WoW unless it comes up on stream and people ask about it. So I'll ask you the following question.
Okay.
When you do the story at the, I think, is it chapter 7 or chapter 5 where you unlock the second legendary slot? You get about, I think, right?
So
from the story.
It is week 5, so that might be chapter 7, but I need to double check that. I'm not sure, but basically week 5, I think it's 2 or 3 weeks into the mythic raid. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the raid, 2 weeks into the mythic raid.
Yeah.
So I believe it's chapter 7, but I might be wrong.
All right. So you get a belt as one of the rewards for finishing chapter 7. You get a belt from the quest, correct?
Oh, yes. And also, by the way, just as a caveat to that, obviously this doesn't matter for anybody else besides the world first race, but essentially this whole thing is completely, it doesn't matter towards the world first race because progression would have been finished by then. So that it's shitty for them that they're going to progress without double Legos. No, at all, whole expansion. But yeah, of course, it's chapter 7, I believe, yeah.
Okay, so my question is, what unlocks from rape then? Because I'm assuming from the chapters, the belt slot unlocks in week 5.
Yes, so it basically unlocks a memory, like a legendary memory where you go and learn a legendary, essentially. It unlocks that on a vendor that you can then unlock the option to put that in different slots. So it allows you to craft your Covenant Lego specifically, and only the Covenant Lego, into a different slot. This is why I was saying it's not, if it was any Lego in any slot, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But it's only Covenant Lego, and that's already locked as it is. So it basically doesn't make that much of a difference.
All right, that definitely changes the landscape for, I would say, a lot of players. So in that regard, you are correct. But what happens if there is a player where their best mix, okay, so let's say, for example, Warlocks. I'm just going to use Warlocks as an example here. Let's imagine that for an Affliction Warlock specifically, it is more optimal to have a belt from the raid and rather have their fucking boots be the legendary. Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Is there classes like that? I'm asking you and chat here.
I am not 100% sure on that because I'm basically I choose a class and I stick to it for a whole expansion. I probably would ask a guildie of mine because there are people that will literally play Flavor of the Month, so they would probably know better, and I can come back to you on that. I'm not sure, but it's fully kind of, it makes sense that there probably would be a class, and it would really suck for them. But with the change that they just did last week, where if you just do the bare minimum for 5 weeks, you would have done that anyway. So I think that's why. But of course, again, it's still not great. But also, the other thing that I wanted to add was that they haven't done a great job of explaining it. Right? I only understand it the way that I do is because it's a constant discussion within my guild and with my officers and stuff in preparation. But it's not something that I would expect anybody who's just passively reading to understand, just because it's so convoluted unnecessarily, right?
No, this is definitely one of those things. If you're not playing the BTR actively, you're most likely not going to understand what the fuck this is about. Which again goes into a whole different discussion that I have, a gripe that I have with Blizzard's communication skills in general. And this could literally just be down to the fact that the lead developer of Blizzard seems to think that there is no players that needs talking to. But that would go down a different rabbit hole here. My issue is for those players. So in chat, people are telling me that demo is one of the classes, rate is one of the classes, and apparently there's a couple of other classes that the belt slot specifically is not going to be where they want it. So for those classes specifically, the rape grind now no longer functions as an optional thing that they can do. It is now mandatory that they do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and I agree with that, and that's why I said like I'm not 100% sure, but again, with that, I completely agree. It's just that I think it kind of ties to the conversation that you were having earlier a little bit in the stream, which was about people putting like blanket statements on just everything that's happening at the moment. It's like, oh, it's all bad or it's all good or whatever.
Yes.
And it's very nuanced, right? And it's way too complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because personally, I would say that this system would have worked absolutely fine if both of those things were tied to the story. As soon as you reach Chapter 7, Week 5, you unlock the belt slot, right? You get the belt, and then you can go to the vendor and buy the item if you want to move it to something else. It's the fact that there's this. So my problem, and this is where this discussion started off, is Blizzard seems to be in this very old school mind space where grind is necessary in order to convince people to play a game. My argument around this is if your game is good, then grind isn't necessary to convince people to play your game. They're gonna play it regardless. This just seems like specifically for raiders, because I think if you're just someone who does maybe collections in the world and you sort of farm a couple of rares every once in a while and you collect pets, moving a legendary to a different slot seems like a completely useless time-wasting thing. So the very people that would ultimately have an interest in farming rep aren't really the people targeted by this sort of unnecessary thing. It's the people that would most likely not be interested in farming things like rep that is negatively impacted, because it's the hardcore raider.
Quite frankly, actually, I just by its own right, I don't really have an issue with grinds and with reps specifically, just because obviously that's part of an MMO or even tied to player power. However, the thing here for me is that you can only earn so much rep in a day, right? They've created the whole system, and you can only you have to log in to do your rares. You have to log into blah blah blah. If they so for example, if this whole thing was entirely only tied to rep, but you could just no life the rep in 2 days when you have on a Saturday, Sunday, I wouldn't have an issue, because you have the possibility in the way that you want to do it when you can, and not like obligated to just log in absolutely every single day to do the minimum. And that's the thing, you log in, you do something for 30 minutes, and then the stuff you can do runs out. So you kind of like, you sit there, well, I have nothing to do, but I can't max this reputation out anyway, and I just sit around with nothing to do.
Well,
so it's one.
It's a two-edged sword, which is kind of the reason I have such a gripe with it. So first and foremost, rape grinds and grinds really is an artifact from MMOs in the past, not of modern MMOs. If you look at a lot of the modern day MMOs, ESO, Final Fantasy is a very good example of this. Your grinds in Final Fantasy are almost always purely cosmetic, unless the grind requires, for example, the grind of Savages or Ultimate Raids, where you raid in order to unlock the thing that you wish to unlock in the first place, because that's where you would use the thing anyways. So it sort of gives the raider the thing that they want to do, and then they give them an extra cherry on top for the thing that they wanted to do in the first place. So,
I can agree with that. I think that actually specifically for WoW, the issue here is obviously partially what I just said, but also tying into what you said is that it is very samey, right? All reps are the same. You
Yeah.
do your WoW quest, you do your res. If it was a rep, for example, I can give you an example. I did this in BFA, was the B faction, you know, where you got the mount.
Oh my
The
god,
B
are you an alliance scumbag?
No, I used to be. I did
All right, all
actually.
right, all right. Just
I did have
checking,
to
just
move
checking.
towards.
I don't give
Um,
alliance players a voice on this channel.
no, Alliance is nice if you want to go and just kind of do casual stuff and bumble about. I do enjoy that, but for raiding, obviously, is
Yeah.
at the moment, obviously, changes coming. You know, soon TM, but what I was saying is like the bee, that was a lot of fun. I was
Yeah,
so much fun doing that. And you know, at the end where you got the little glasses, the little goggles where you can actually farm it a lot more reliably, you could go and sell it on the auction house. And I made so much gold out of that. And I was just having so much fun in the drought of BFA. So just farming the jellies and selling them. And
yeah.
I think it's a really good example of how rep is done well and not like having to just spam the same 5 world quests. And also the world quests are literally the same type of gameplay, like on
Yeah.
loop. So
Yeah.
it's a combination of all of the factors for me.
So I would say you made a statement, which is what I want to get back to. You made a statement there where you said one of the things that really irks you for rape specifically is that you can't just no life it. Now, this is where the double-edged sword comes in. Because the rep is tied to a specific player power, no lifing it would immediately give people that don't have a life an advantage over someone that doesn't. So it would create an unnecessary
Yeah.
pressure on someone who only has 2 hours a day to actually also unlock the thing that they need in order to at least play the game.
Yeah, well, that is essentially what artifact power was, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. I completely agree with
if
that. And
if Blizzard removed, so just to finish the thought, if Blizzard removed player power from rape grinds and made rape grinds purely cosmetic, in that if someone doesn't have anything to do, they can go rape grinding, they can go world questing, they can do basically whatever, then suddenly having that no life element to it, so you could basically sit there and no life it for a week and get it done, it affects nothing because it just means that you're gonna have your cosmetic faster than anyone else, and cosmetics is literally just flexing. So it doesn't hurt the game. The problem that I have, and this is sort of every single time we get a new patch or expansion from Blizzard, they do this. They come up with a really cool idea and then they cut their own knees off. It's like you come up
sure,
with this really
sure.
cool idea. Now you tie that really cool idea. So legendaries in Shadowlands, everyone was incredibly excited by the fact that you'd be able to craft whatever legendary you wanted, because it took the legendary system from Legion and made it less RNG. Great. And then they go and they tie it to Torghast, and it's like, oh motherfucker, why would
Yeah,
you
I
do
don't even
this?
get me started on Torghast. I was there in the alpha, right? When it was like at the very beginning where you could go and do 72 floors, and
Yeah.
I'm so sad that that never got to see the light of day.
Yeah, I
That was
did
so,
the 72 floors as well. The
and
original Torghast for
honestly,
me was fun.
so fun because, and also you imagine at that point in the alpha, people didn't actually have any rewards. There was just placeholder stuff, and people would literally just run it over and over again, just on different classes, just because it was fun. So yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree with a lot of it, like a lot of different sentiments that you expressed. I just think that it would be a lot better if in general, obviously, all of these issues, there was a bit of a more open forum to discuss them. And I see that kind of happening a little bit now,
Hmm.
obviously, with them kind of replying and doing posts and stuff. But I, I just feel like it's a bit complicated for them and they're a bit scared to do it because of what you were saying at the beginning of the stream.
Yeah.
And it's just, it sounds like a catch-22, right? They want to be more proactive, but at the same time they're scared, and then people shit on them, and then they don't want to talk about it. So it's a long problem. I feel like that probably doesn't have a very simple solution.
Yeah, I would just like to say I don't like the defense of Blizzard there, where you sort of snuck in there. You know, it's sort of like When they don't speak to the player base, they get angry, but then they do speak and they get shot on. 90% of
Oh,
Blizzard's...
deservedly,
Yeah,
deservedly sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I agree that there's a lot of stuff that I really don't like that they've done. I just feel like that's probably what they think. Trying to play devil's advocate here. That's probably what they would say if you spoke to them.
yeah, but I would then immediately like fucking clap back at them and be like, 90% of why we're so angry at you is that you don't ever speak to us. And then when you do finally fucking speak to us, you say all the wrong shit. Like you're just spewing crap that we don't want, but then you take so long to actually respond to us, which is one of the reasons I said just earlier in the stream. People should actually praise Blizzard for the amount of communication that we've gotten throughout this entire PTR cycle. It is probably more communication that we've had in the last 6 years from Blizzard Entertainment. So we should actually be very, very happy with what we've got to now, and you should praise Blizzard for that. Can it be better? Of course it can. There should be a hell of a lot more that Blizzard does, but they are at least trying, I think.
I'm cautiously optimistic about this because specifically right before all of this started happening, I think I read an article or a blue post, whatever it was, and they were saying how the kind of leftover staff at Blizzard, well, I say leftover, but obviously a lot of people got fired and left and etc.
Yeah.
In the room, and the leaders or the managers said, okay, let's have a round table, say what you actually want to do. And basically the whole sentiment there was that there was a lot of the things that are coming now, for example, swappable covenants, like stuff like that people were really enjoying, were actually changes that some of the devs wanted to bring in really early on, but were being blocked. So they sat in a room and they did it. And I'm optimistic because I feel like if they continue with that approach, and not getting every single thing blocked off the moment it kind of gets suggested, maybe next expansion can be really good, hopefully.
I can see that. Just quick Truffle Shuffle, thanks for the tier 1 sub, dude. Really appreciate it. 13 months in a row, you fucking bastard. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Andy, what were you asking? What was Andy asking? Andy, you're one of the fucking mods, and you're asking me permission to come into the voice channel. Are you high?
It's polite to ask, okay? Shut up.
Go fuck yourself, you degenerate cunt.
So,
what do you want?
What I want to say is about the feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
So, in the recent PTR, there have been actually a lot of changes for the tier sets and some of the workings of abilities. So I would say that it's pretty positive that they have changed their design philosophy for classes slightly. Mm-hmm. Because, like, if you know, do you know Scarizard? He used to work in Riot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he designs. I think he has 6 classes or 5 classes right now. He designed the tier sets for, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And based on feedback, he actually changed a lot of the numbers. So if you provide the devs with like hard numbers,
yeah,
they are more likely than not gonna listen to you now, because I think something must have changed in their management, right?
Yeah.
Because like just a few days ago, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Carry on.
It's fine.
No problem.
It's gonna be a quick one. So just a few days ago, Frost Mages were supposed to get a nerf, right, on 3 parts of their kit, which were ability, the legendary synergy, and conduits.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically dropped like a huge post with all the number breakdown and how things work and effective nerfs for long term. And they have managed to get a revert on some of the nerfs. So I think it's okay to be positive. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not so black and white anymore.
Yeah.
I've definitely found that, they tend to respond a lot more. They don't completely shun negative feedback. However, they tend to kind of be more responsive to people that approach them initially in a good sort of, kind of positive way, kind of start with something good and then obviously go, and complain and explain. But I think generally the best thing to do is go somewhere in the middle, right? You do want to be constructive and you do want to be specific. And I think that's one of the major issues with us as a community, because obviously I think there's issues on both sides, right? I don't think Blizzard's great. I don't think we are great as a community sometimes when we need to provide feedback, because obviously content creators do that, but the general community, especially on Twitter, like if you're on Twitter, it's a dumpster fire 90% of the time, and you can't actually pick out very specific and useful feedback the way that you would want to do it as a developer.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of the community has made an effort recently to do that, and I think that's also why we're getting good feedback.
Yeah, I think one more problem with feedback, as it is and as it has been, is because the negativity bias, right? People only basically shit on the game for what it's doing bad, and they never bring up the good parts or what feels good. And by that, Blizzard eventually removes those good parts because they are part of an overall bad thing or whatever. And then people complain about that too, but they haven't brought it up as a good thing.
I think actually, and this is
just before you guys go on, let me just quickly interrupt you and say, Cask, thanks for the Prime sub, dude. Really appreciate it. 38 months in a row, you bastard. Really appreciate it. And then before you answer, let me just quickly jump in here and say, negativity bias is human nature, right? Humans focus on negativity far more than what they focus on positivity. And I don't like the idea of blaming the community for almost anything in World of Warcraft right now, and I'll explain why. Is the community of World of Warcraft shitty? You bet your ass it is. Yeah? But I think it's well deserved. I think Blizzard have spent the last 6 years alienating themselves from the community in ways that is incredibly unhelpful if you are a game development company that for some reason Blizzard have forgotten that the only people that they make games for is the players that they hate. If you go onto Twitter and you look at the amount of Blizzard developers who despise the general player base, you know, when we had that entire, like, the lawsuits that came out, there were people who were going, but when are we getting 9.1.5? And there were actual developers going, oh my god, you selfish cunt. How dare you ask for content when we're going through one of the hardest times of our lives? And I thought to myself, fuck you. I don't care about the hard time that you're going through. Do I want justice for you? Sure, get your justice. But I'm also paying you for a product that you're not delivering on. You keep releasing 6-month subs, but you're not actually delivering on content. So you can't expect us to sit idly by and waste our fucking money while you sort out the hardest time of your fucking life. Sorry, that's not how this works. Your general attitude towards the player base is what's going to determine the negativity the players treat you with. And I think that's what Blizzard is guilty of. I genuinely believe that Blizzard treats their players as if they are expendable, and now they're surprised that their players are leaving.
on that, actually, I have 2 quick points.
Yeah.
First of all, I think that there's this very interesting kind of phenomenon going on, is that when you go on Twitter, you feel like the people on Twitter are the whole community, and the Blizzard devs do this where they can address things and they can speak on Twitter, and they generally obviously do that addressing WoW Twitter and not the WoW community. And I think that stood out to me when he said, oh, they hate the fucking community. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I think the way that they talk to players, quote unquote, is more or less the people on Twitter rather than the whole player base. Not that that's answer or anything, just kind of an explanation there. Second thing is, WoW devs on Twitter are not PR, right? And I think that's probably them shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, just because that's their personal Twitters, right? And they are allowed to say whatever they want to say on their personal Twitter.
Yeah.
A lot of us kind of accept that as official Blizzard statements, which is not very healthy. So that was what I just wanted to say. And also to the previous point, just wanted to add is, as a general rule, when I give feedback, because I've done posts in the past and alpha posts and everything, if you want to obviously be negative and give the negative feedback, but you don't have anything positive to say, which is a lot of the times, it happens, what you can do to do a positive spin on it is to just use a positive example from the past. So you can say, Blizzard, this is shit. but look, before you did this very well, can you think in that direction? So it's not necessarily giving them positive feedback when they don't deserve it, but it's just using that to give kind of a direction.
So I kind of want to push back on a couple of things here. First and foremost, you said that it is their private Twitter. They have in their Twitter bios dev at Blizzard Entertainment, right? That means it's no longer your private Twitter. You're using dev at Blizzard Entertainment to get a check mark, which immediately means that you are abusing your position, right? You are abusing your position to try and get fame. So right there, it's no longer really your private Twitter. That's also, Alex is just saying here, they actually do make you sign a contract at Blizzard that you are at all times a representative of Blizzard. But I want to push back actually more on the... So anyone that knows me know that I'm a cunt, yeah? I'm a cunt on stream, I'm a cunt in videos, I'm a cunt on Twitter. But I treat people with, or at least I always try to treat people with an open-minded sense of respect, where if someone tells me something on Twitter, if they're agreeing with something, I get a lot of people on Twitter that go, yeah, I fucking hate your content now. You know, I'll always try, if they did it in good faith, to respond in good faith. Sometimes you get the assholes and I just go, well, I'm crying, right? I can't believe you just unsubbed for my channel. You know, so I will sometimes act, but that's when they come at me with bad faith. The problem that I have is I don't know if it's honestly helpful or even useful to ask. So, do you guys remember when Blizzard had those Ian and Josh sit-downs with the worst Q&As in the history of the world, right? We basically sit there for 2 hours listening to a Q&A with all the softest questions being asked. Like, when is the next transmog coming out? It's like, Jesus, the game is burning and you're fucking asking transmog questions? Like, seriously?
That was essentially a form of PR, though, right? That wasn't an actual, like, a Q&A the way that it should have been. But I do hope they bring that back with a where it's actual, like, maybe live questions even, whether they can do it on Twitch, answer live questions from the chat, something like that.
I would want them to bring it back where the person asking the questions is an actual Twitch streamer or YouTuber. So it's someone that, and no questions beforehand, they ask the questions that their community asks that they think is important.
They did that with Preach, though, didn't they? At the beginning of Shadow, they did that with Preach. That was really good.
We have inside knowledge that PR fucking hated that. Basically, it will never happen again. Because Ian was caught a couple of times by Preach in things that he could not defend, where Preach's face literally told you that this is the most bullshit answer you could ever have given to this. So PR wasn't happy with that, so that's probably never happening again, sadly. The problem, I think, all of this. So what I was saying earlier with Josh used to go in those Q&A things and he would be like, players need to start giving us useful feedback. And I'm like, motherfucker, my job isn't to, like, my job as a content creator is to try and give useful feedback. But that's my job. It's why people follow me. It's why I make videos. I have to think about an issue that I have and try to figure out why I have that issue. The general population of gamers, there was a philosopher who actually said this. People are horrible at coming up with solutions, great at identifying problems, which is what gamers are, right? We're like, you play a game for 5 minutes and you go, yeah, this is what's wrong, this. If I ask you why is it wrong, you're not necessarily going to have an answer to that question. You don't know why it's wrong or even how to fix it. You do know that it pisses you off, that it's there, and that you can't actually make it work.
Well, it's much easier to come up with finding the problems, obviously, than coming up with the solutions, which is the main thing.
Yeah, you know, also remember, most WoW players don't have any knowledge of the back end of World of Warcraft, like the physical design space of games in general. So oftentimes a problem could be the result of something that happens in server infrastructure, right? Or in engine infrastructure, which the player will never be able to identify. So the player can simply go, I hate the fact that I click B and my bags take 5 seconds to load. I don't know why
Well,
that's happening. I can't.
That's where that communication comes in really well from them, because that exactly what you just said happened with the tokens, right? With the tier tokens,
Yeah.
where we couldn't do it because of technical stuff. But that's the difference. They actually said it. Where in the past, where it's happened, they haven't said it, and you as a viewer or player, you can't kind of say. You can only say this sucks, but I don't know why. Like I'm not a developer. I can just say this.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're broadly in agreement on almost everything. If you have anything else that you wanted to bring up, you're welcome to.
Not really, and I was just actually gonna say it's probably good that I hop off in a second, because I do work from home, so I just have some stuff to do.
That's fine.
I really enjoyed the chat, and thank you so much for having me. And
It's a pleasure.
Fingers crossed for next expansion, I guess.
Yeah, 10.0 is like make or break, I think, for Blizzard. 3 bad expansions in a row. I don't know any game that has ever come back from that. So thanks for coming on, for actually having... I see chat enjoying it as well. So thanks for coming on, for having the balls, so to speak, to come on and actually make your point.
Thank you so much. Guys, speak soon.
Have a great day.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye. All right. That was I would actually have to say, I think I have to take some L's on that. I think broadly speaking, the problem still persists, but there's definitely L's, and that's my own fault. I'm not informed enough on WoW. For good reason, because I can't fucking imagine spending time right now trying to learn anything that there is to learn about WoW. There's just, I can't fucking imagine doing that. But yeah, you guys should all know, Hungry Lizard, thanks for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. You guys should all know that the Discord is always open. If I say anything that you disagree with, even if you just wanted to make a point, you're more than fucking welcome to jump into Discord, tell me that you want to have a chat, and I'll get you on, and we can have that debate. If we're going to fight, we'll fight. If we're going to agree, we'll agree, but I'm happy to talk to everyone. I don't want you to think for a second that this stream is literally just me talking at you guys, and you don't get to raise your voice in any way, shape, or form. I have strong opinions, of course. I've always had strong opinions, but I don't expect that people in my chat don't have the same level of strong opinions. I don't think you would have been here if you all didn't have strong opinions as well about things. Throw wide the gates. Dude, I've been wanting to do shit like this for a very long fucking time. Arnold, you bastard. Thanks for the tier 1 sub gifted, man. Really appreciate that. Can we get some love in chat, Arnold? Just handing out a gifted sub to Hungry Lizard. I think she deserves that. Yes, I have Lost Ark. Ikari. I have it. Hopefully I can play it as soon as it goes live. Kishani, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But yeah, we actually spoke about this. Jesus, the mods will be able to tell... would be able to tell you guys probably the exact time frame, but I think probably a year ago. Andy, are you still in Discord? I don't think Andy is here anymore. But it's probably a year ago at this point where we discussed doing a call-in show. Where we were actually talking about doing a show where people can literally jump in, say their piece, either about lore, ask a question, or make a statement, and that can be discussed. So, Kishani, thanks for the first time chat, dude. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was about a year ago that we already started talking about it. Smoldering, no. I don't think that was the issue. So we tried multiple fucking things with Lost Ark to get it to work. Now, to be clear, the problem that I had with Lost Ark is that I couldn't even see the game in my Steam no matter what I did. So I downloaded a VPN, multiples, 3, to be clear. I used 3 different VPNs. I went for obfuscated server IPs, obfuscated servers, trying to find a server that is hidden so that Steam doesn't recognize that I'm using the VPN. Because every single time I tried to make a new account in a different country on Steam in order to get access to the game, as soon as I clicked, I want to fucking, like, I want to create my account, it would literally pop up a red box saying disable your VPN or proxy and try again. So I tried to no avail to get that to work. Finally, last night, after going through the list of servers, I found a server in France that actually allowed me to click the button so that it pops up I am older than 16 years or I am under 16 years. I click the button, it literally closes the box that comes up and then just reloads the captcha. And then I do the captcha again. I click the box, I'm older than 16 again, and it just reloads the captcha. And I did that, and I did that. Then I started searching once again through the list of servers that would allow me to create a fucking account. I probably tried about 12 different servers that would actually take me past hitting the button, create the account, and the VPN message doesn't pop up, and takes me to the 16 years older or under, and then it would just once again always reload the captcha. No fucking idea how to get past that, because if it doesn't take me past that first page, I can't open my account. So I eventually, yesterday during stream, we actually tried where Alex bought the game, the Founders Edition, and he then family shared that with me, right? Couldn't do it. Like, my account will just not see the game being family shared. We eventually figured out that Amazon have disabled the family sharing thing. So if you try to do it now, it will not show up. Yeah? So last night, basically, in a final Hail Mary, Alex tried to make a new Steam account. He's finally fucking succeeded. We tried that yesterday afternoon, actually, before we went live, and it just wouldn't work. Alex couldn't make a second account. We finally succeeded in making the second account. We got Lost Ark, and I can see it, and I just downloaded it. So I have Lost Ark downloaded on my PC already. I can't log in yet because the game isn't live yet, but it's on my PC now, and I can actually see it on this new Steam account. So that takes care of that. Now, I could have said, well, I'm going to still buy the Founders Pack so that we can play a little bit, but then what would have been the point? I would have gone live, right? We would have played maybe for 2 hours, the servers would have gone down, and I would have still only have been able to fucking play when the game goes free to play anyways. So it's sort of like, I'm going to pay $14 for 2 hours? What's the point? So I believe Alex actually refunded the Founders Edition. We'll see if I actually have access to it. Don't know. I might fire up the game and it immediately goes, by the way, you are clearly not in one of the regions that you're allowed to play, so go fuck yourself. That could still happen, right?